Okay, guys, welcome to the Thursday Q&A for the sponsored showdown. We are in class 7, which is focused on search campaigns and structuring your search campaigns to win with the algorithm. Melissa, are you out here with me?
I am. Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Hello, hello. I'll turn up your volume here so they can hear you. All right, let's go. Let's go. I'm going to get into the amazing admin while you set this up, and let's go ahead and start organizing our questions.
Awesome. I got about 8 lined up for you right now. And I think that we'll probably do the same thing we've been doing, one question per person until everybody's got a question answered and kind of rotate through them like that. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea, just doing what we've been doing. And then as far as the
Mhm.
guides, I know you and I discussed it, and you could just kind of stay in the loop over on Slack with Andy and see when those are posted. But we do have a new guide going in the members area today on search term mining, and we have a couple others following it. And then one thing about today's guide is we had a little bit of a blurry resolution come back from the designer on it, but I wanted to get it posted to you guys anyway. So I'll fix that resolution today and get it reposted tonight with the follow up guides. But so if you download your search term guide and think it's a little fuzzy, just know that there'll be a V2 posted later that's got a little clearer images. But either way, it's a great guide to get started, and I didn't want to wait any longer.
Awesome. Be here. And yep. And as soon as they tell me exactly where that is at in Slack, I'm going to post that as a public message on the message board so everybody has it. So just in case you miss me saying it, you'll have the information right there.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Okay,
Okay,
we
let's
got a
go
lot of
ahead. First
great
question.
questions coming in. Yeah, for sure. We got a lot of great questions coming in right now.
Okay.
Okay, first question's from Lure VIP. This is a bit of a long one, Sheree, so you're going to want to take notes on it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so Lure is asking, it's a two-part question. First part of this question, since I started Bid for Rank on shop keywords last week, I've been selling less and running out of budget faster than before. The current ad group bid is at $7.47. Previously, most of my sales were coming from browse keywords, but I thought instead of browse eating up my budget, to Bid for Rank on shop would help my budget last longer and in turn result in higher sales, but it's doing the opposite. I'm so confused. I'm bidding for rank on 5 keywords in broad and 3 of those also in exact. Broad search volume is ranging from 16,500, so 16,500 down to 5,000. So it's not huge, but since I am still running out of my $80 daily budget, should I cut down on the number of shop keywords, or should I increase my bid on the browse keywords again, bit by bit, and only run 1 or 2 shop keywords? Should I lower the bids and go for ad position 3 instead of 1, or a combination?
Well, again, you're not concerned with your budget in regards to how much you're spending a day. You're concerned to what that ACOS is. The goal with advertising is you want to purchase as many sales as possible with a break-even ACOS. So setting a daily budget for advertising isn't really important if you're not losing money on those sales, which means that money is not coming out of your pocket. Essentially, you're advertising the product, and if it's below your target ACOS, you want to buy all those sales because you're essentially just breaking even on those sales. It's not costing you anything to acquire those customers. And then more importantly, it's also building your sales history with the algorithm and starting to improve your overall velocity. So when it comes to your daily budget, it's not about the budget so much in a dollar amount as it is the budget managing your keywords to target ACOS so they're profitable or break even. So that would be my first question would be, okay, are you at break even? Because if you are, you don't have a budget issue. If the ACOS is high, then I would lower the bid without question. There's, if you have a high ACOS, the best way to manage that is a lower bid. The next thing I would say is your shop keywords have tremendously low search demand, when you're in the 16,000 range. So you may have been seeing more success on those browse keywords. And if they were at your target ACOS, it seems that you would want to activate those and do a little bit of search term mining and discover the actual kind of mid-tail, long-tail phrases that will perform for you. So I would say if the browse keywords were working at target ACOS, I would go ahead and be sure the budget matches what those keywords can spend at break even, and go ahead and sell more products and build your velocity. The slower you build sales velocity, the less likely your products will ever rank. That's just the truth with Amazon. It's you need velocity to win, and you need that history. So building it as fast as possible is the goal. So I would be looking at what your target ACOS is. I would definitely say if the shop keywords aren't driving as many sales, then you have conclusive data that the browse kind of, shorter tail keywords on your product are the ones that convert, which isn't shocking. Again, it's not shocking at all. On Amazon, people really start their search at a very basic phrase, like we discussed in Act 1 for research. Amazon is a much more short tail engine than something like Google that's very text based. People shop and browse, and they use browse words predominantly to look for products. So it's not shocking that those browse words are coming through. And if you have data that those browse words convert to sales for your product, then that just shows that the browse keywords are, a dominant player in your keyword mix. And I would suggest being sure that you put some budget back on them.
She does have some feedback here for you. It says, before bid to rank, my ACOS was at 39%, which is the lowest that I've managed so far. Break even is 23%. Now it is higher, but I only have a couple days of data because of the time delay.
Right. So you'll need a decent amount of data to get that right. But I would say you would want to lower your bid to position 3 if that's what you can afford to pay. You want to bid for rank to build that sales history quickly to kind of see what your average CPC will be in the top positions. Really good selling products without question, which it sounds like yours could be, but you have really tight margins. A 23% target ACOS is a tremendously tight margin. So you can work off of that margin, but no, that's 23% is a very tight margin to include an ad spend with today's Amazon. It could have worked, 2016, maybe 2017, but as you move into 2018 and Amazon is taking over kind of the digital advertising space, and that's their primary goal, their ad platform is getting bigger and more robust and becoming a bigger kind of part of the Amazon strategy. So more sellers are using it. So I would say that 23% is a very tight margin. I would think about pricing differently if you can to accommodate a little more ad spend. Just in my experience, you're going to have a very hard time finding keywords that will be profitable with ad spend at 23% ACOS. Normally, you want to try to be in like a 35% ACOS threshold. So I would look at your pricing, at your forward-facing pricing on Amazon.com, and think about how that looks overall. Unless, of course, it's a consumable item, something that is consumed rather rapidly and you have repeat customers at scale, then you have a little more room on those ACOS numbers because you obviously have a higher lifetime value of the customer, because they're going to do repeat purchases and they're going to do it almost right away. So if you don't have repeat purchases in there, I think 23% will be a challenge for you. And I would think to edit that in any way that you can to make it better.
Awesome. And the second part of her question is, according to Helium 10, my browse keyword has 2,000 competing products compared to some of the shop keywords that I have with 2,000 to 8,000 competing products. Should competing products be a factor to consider?
It's not going to matter in the end. If you're being more aggressive than those competitors and you can sell, it doesn't really matter how many. It goes back to that theory in terms of competition where only, very little of your competition is fierce and intimidating and is any real threat to you. The majority of your competition doesn't know what they're doing, so you're A-okay there. So I would say that, with a solid strategy like you're rolling out, you probably only have a few competitors that are really fierce that are going to, be a barrier to your success. And you're already ranking at the top of the search results, which shows right there that there's room to kind of push into your market. So I would definitely say that you wouldn't be concerned with competition. I would be concerned with the data. It's a very pragmatic strategy advertising is. We certainly can't answer every question like why shoppers buy and why algorithms rank. And you know what I mean? It's all a bit of a mystery. So the very best thing that we can do is look at our data and make our decisions based on that conclusive data in a very pragmatic way. So if your data is showing you that the browse keywords are driving sales and the shop keywords are not, then I suggest you follow that data trail, kind of like a hound dog on a scent, because that's what I do to get my campaigns where they're at.
Okay, great. All right, next question from Jeremiah. If I can only afford to rank on top of search for 1 to 2 browse or even shop keywords, is that enough? Or is it necessary to have a much broader coverage in order to get good results? I'm in a competitive niche, which is skincare, and even the mid-tail keywords seem to be crazy expensive.
Yeah, skincare is an interesting niche. That's one of those things, looking at skincare as a niche. The thing about it is you really, again, your goal is if you can get some of those browse keywords to rank profitably, that's going to generate a lot of, as long as it's a broader phrase match, it's going to generate a lot of search terms for you fairly aggressively. So you are going to grow and scale regardless of what's happening with your initial test keywords, because test keywords are just that. Some stick and some don't. But when you start to do the 3+ order mining, and again, I have a guide out today that shows you guys how to sort that first report, and there's 2 more following. But once you start to see those search terms, that's really where kind of the gold is in terms of scaling and scaling profitably. So whatever your first test bed of keywords is not nearly as important as what happens in the kind of, mid-tail and long tail you pull out of your search term reports, and getting those in there to continue to build sales history and growth. So I would say if you have a few good keywords ranking profitably, then you're in the game. And I would play strong on those keywords, and I would protect that territory and make sure those keywords continue to hold top positions so that you get the maximum sales possible out of them. I would mine the search terms off of those keywords, and I would continue to scale. Now, the funny thing I've seen about skincare, one thing I would suggest, because everybody has a different product, right? No 2 products are the same. No 2 strategies will be the same, right? We can use the same strategy layout, but again, we're not basing any of our decisions based on like pure tactics. We're basing our decisions based on data. This entire course is designed to show you how to get the right data for your product, how to continually get the right data so that you can have an optimization process over time that works for you. So that's kind of the key, is it's all going to be in your data. There is no like predetermined thing that will work with your margins or your products or your market or any of that category. So I'm going to say, if you're working in skincare, that one thing I would be cautious of, and I would watch closely if I were you, especially on your first search term reports, is looking at brands that don't convert to sales for you. Skincare is definitely one of those categories that people sometimes, a lot of the time hold the brand preference. So I have found this in doing campaigns, so I know this to be true at scale. That there is, same with, like cosmetics, skincare, some of those things tend to have a very strong brand preference coming in. They're not as flexible with buying, new brands or experimenting with new brands, because they're fairly sold on the brand they're using, because they're either getting results or are familiar with it and trust it. So I would say that really watching your search term mine stream on something like skincare, and making sure the brands that get clicks and don't convert are negative matched in your manual campaigns as single keywords, those brand keywords singles, because it's very possible that you will find a lot of people looking for brand names, and then you may find that your product won't convert on specific brand names that are very like powerhouse and well known. And then you're going to find your ideal buyer will buy for sure on the keywords you're bidding on. But I think filtering the negatives in skincare would be a really strong idea, and tracking those searches pretty closely to kind of filter out anybody with a brand preference.
All right, we'll go to the next one here. Patricia in Orlando. In my initial keyword research, I found mid-tail keywords with traffic ranging from 50,000 to 80,000 searches per month, which I considered high for my browse ad group, as they could eat all of my budget. Mm-hmm. Today, I checked again, and the traffic for the same keywords has decreased to 20,000 to 30,000 searches per month. Can I consider that if I bid on the same keyword with lower traffic, it would spend less of my budget, which would allow me to start the browse group earlier in phase 1?
I think you should test. I think when you're looking at data that's skewed and it's not solid, I think the only way, first of all, we have this other piece of the formula that we don't really know. The keyword demand gives us a really good general idea of, hey, where's this keyword going? How much will it cost? And again, it is a nice indicator of that. But what you don't know conclusively is how often the shoppers are going to click on your particular ads. What kind of an active category it is. If it's one of these categories, like some of my best sellers that convert every four clicks to a sale, it's very aggressive, very high traffic. I think it's a good idea for you to test those keywords. You don't have to run them for a full 30 days. You don't really have to even run them for more than a week. You're going to need to give it at least a week to kind of ramp up momentum and see what it can do. But I think even after a few days, a week, 10 days at the max, depending on how your category is and how hard it is to get those impressions kind of, pushing into the market, I would say that you can get some good data there. And I would just test it and know that if it's outside of your budget, you can always plug that keyword and come back to it later. But I would test it because, you're not in a crazy range. Like we get into like 125,000 searches, 225,000 searches, 500,000 searches. That's when you get into big expenses, those big kind of short tail keywords. But I don't think that if you've got 50 to 80,000 is the range, and then the tool is also showing you that it's sometimes a lower range. I would definitely suggest going in on that and seeing what happens. And you can also, you guys, to be conservative, you can also take these keywords that are really kind of, scary for your budget and really just go ahead and bid on Exact Match and see what the performance looks like. Although in my experience, Broad and Exact, have perform differently across all markets. There's no like preference there. But if you want to be absolutely sure how a keyword is going to perform, you can always start as Exact to get some data and then open it up to Broad and Phrase to mine off of it. But you can test it a few different ways. And I think if you're trying to be conservative, I would definitely test it and see what the spend really looks like. I think I would test maybe a single match type like Exact to see what the performance is like on your product page. And I think from there, you can go straight into Broad and Phrase and start to kind of maximize the traffic stream.
Okay, and then let me see here. Theodore, I have just a follow-up question when we were talking about brands. How do you find those brands that are convert to add them to negative phrase?
You're going to see them in your search term report. So one more time, he's asking how to find those brands that don't convert, correct?
Right.
Well, you're definitely going to.
And then he wants to add them as negative phrase.
Okay. So when that's the case, you're definitely going to want to, you can add them as a negative phrase and you're going to find them in your search term reports. There's a few ways you can do it, but the first way is just to look in your search term reports and make sure that you're seeing search terms come through. The broader the keywords you start targeting, the more you're going to see brands being searched. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. So as you get into browse like keywords, like for example, if I'm searching for women's jeans, or I have women's jeans as one of my keywords I'm bidding on, women's jeans is going to pull a lot more variation than say skinny jeans. Skinny jeans is going to stay pretty close to my target. It's going to be very mid-tail no matter what it mines. It's going to be skinny jeans women, skinny jeans tight, skinny jeans distressed. It's going to have this like core seed keyword that describes my product. But when I go one tier up and I'm in, say, women's jeans, it's going to absolutely come through with tons of other brand names that either will or will not be profitable for me, or it's also going to come through with a lot of different style characteristics if I haven't added those as negatives. It's just the further you go up in the funnel keyword wise, the more negatives will come through. But of course, the bigger funnel you're going to have to discover those killer mid-tail terms that define your product. So, there is an advantage to going in the browse funnel because you can start to discover bigger keywords. But again, there's no advantage to discovering those keywords before you've won on the keywords that are going to convert highest for you or most relevant for you, because that's better for your sales history. But once you've established some good sales history in the shop keywords, heading up to browse is great. And that should definitely give you some negative keywords showing you what brands other people are searching for and some of the other kind of details. The further you get into your keyword targeting, the less likely you'll see competitive brands. But the more broad your keywords are, the more likely you're going to see people searching for brands attributed to those broad phrases, and then you just want to filter those as negatives. So you would see it in your search term report, whether you have a manual campaign that's keyword targeted, and sometimes you'll also see it in your auto campaigns as well, both at the ASIN level and the search term level.
All right, next question here is from Shuki. Shuki says, Amazon has reached out to me in the last few days in regard to Amazon advertising optimization suggestions. An analyst was assigned to me that will be providing suggestions to my account via a bulk file, which is emailed to me. Are you familiar with this type of service by Amazon? And if yes, what's your experience with it?
My experience is they really want to spend your money. It's your sales rep. So yeah, they are absolutely going to look for keywords that will spend your money. That's their job. They're going to, when they go into their, quarterly review, I mean, I'm in the ad business, so I can tell you this 100%. They'll go into their quarterly review and they're going to be gauged based on what their customers spend. That is the metric in advertising is ad spend. So without question, there's no rep that you have that isn't measured on his job and his pay based on the amount of money his clients spend. Now, if he's a good ad rep, he will make sure they spend their money successfully, but he would have to have serious chops to do that. And I wouldn't trust any suggestions until your ad rep has proven to you that he is a seasoned maverick at campaign optimization, then, gives you some reason for selecting those keywords.
All right, Andrea's got the next one. Should I negative a search term that is a feature which doesn't describe my product, but it converts sales from broad and phrase relevant keywords?
One more time.
Yeah, of course. Should I negative a search term that is a feature? So the term describes a feature, but it doesn't describe her product.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's related to her product, but it does convert sales from broad and phrase relevant keywords.
Well, if it's converting sales, then let it convert sales. Does it convert sales profitably? If it converts sales profitably, be wary of it at scale. If it's not truly relevant to your product, it could be an anomaly. You'll need a lot of data to trust that keyword. So whenever you have a keyword come through your campaign that's not relevant to your product, but you're still getting some sales on it, if those are just random sales, there's nothing inclusive there. And unfortunately, if you move it to scale with a high bid, it'll probably tank. So I would let it, accumulate quite a bit of data before I did anything with that keyword. But if you're converting sales on it and it's profitable, then there's no reason to filter it as a negative.
On here.
And also for Shookie's follow-up there, I do want to say to you, I work with a lot of guys inside of Amazon advertising personally, and they are super sharp guys. So without question, the Amazon advertising team are well schooled at what they do. But you do have to kind of put your own filter through it on your budget, your targeting, all of these different things, because they are going to be looking for keywords that drive top level growth, right? Because they also are because it's Amazon, the ad team is also of the belief that the brand is the key metric, right? They're not performance-based advertisers. That's a really common thing in e-commerce in general, is it's not a performance-based industry, it's a brand industry. So brands don't have to break even. They're not performance-based. So big brands spend money for visibility, and they have a far broader window of when they need to break even on customer acquisition, sometimes never. They literally have the kind of deep pockets to invest in taking distribution channels like Amazon, taking markets. So another thing that keep in mind is sometimes the ad reps, as seasoned as they are, they're also really focused on top line growth and brand visibility. So they will pick like the highest volume keywords, which aren't always so good for performance-based marketing, where you have to break even and make it profitable.
Right. Good to know. Let's see here. Okay. So MD Adventure, sorry. It says, what should we do with a keyword which we placed in the scale ad group because it was below target ACoS with an uncapped bid, but after time the ACoS got worse and now is above target ACoS in the scale group? Do you move this keyword to the buy ad group?
Yes, you just have data that keyword just didn't survive, and a lot of them won't. When you start to base it on sales data, depending on how conclusive your data is, if this is a fairly new campaign, if your data is not, super conclusive yet, it can either skew both directions. It can get tremendously better. It happens all the time. And it could get tremendously worse, just depending on how that keyword will sink or swim when it hits the top of the search results, right? When you're bidding high like that, it's going to get a lot more visibility. It's going to be stacked up against some competition, and it may or may not, thrive in that higher environment. But that's just that's why you monitor your keywords several times a week, and you pause stuff, and you are going to move stuff around, and it's going to be like a 50-50 deal. Some of it's going to really rock and roll. You're definitely putting it in there with a good indication that it performs. One of the filters you can use for search term mining is just this kind of internal temperature of, is it super relevant to my product? And if the answer is no, then it's always a riskier thing to move it. But if it's a relevant keyword mined off a great phrase, it's always a little bit, questionable if it will like do great on a bid for rank strategy. But you always want to test it, because once you cap the bid, it's not going to do much of anything.
All right. Danor has the next question here. If you have two toners, one is for acne and one is just a regular toner, do you advertise these as child parents, or would you put them in separate campaigns?
Oh, they would have different keywords, correct? I mean, anytime there's a different keyword, if they're really that dramatically different, like somebody that has acne versus normal skin, I mean, you're talking about completely different skin types there. So I would say that that's a whole different keyword universe. And I would say that you'll probably convert better on the acne ones that are in the problem solution space than you would the broad toner ones, where you're out there with the mass market of toners upon toners upon toners on Amazon. So I would say the acne product would have well, probably fiercer competition, but better conversion rates. And the broader one would probably have, way more competitors, but probably not as fierce. So yeah, I think it's going to be, performance wise, they're going to have different metrics. And I would definitely say they're different keyword universes for sure. And just know that on that broad toner, you need to do a lot of research and make sure you have good negative phrases in that campaign when you start out the gate, because something like toner on Amazon will get some pretty big search volume. And the more you can get into the kind of shop keywords that really define the product, the better results you're going to get. But yes, I would separate those.
Okay. Robert's asking, what do you recommend for the landing page for HSA ads, the 3 products via the Amazon default or a store?
3 products. We talked about that on the last class. It's a great question. So let me go over that one more time because it's really important. When you're doing headline search ads, okay, we did this in the last class, and I think it's a really good one to differentiate. So if you're talking about headline search, you have the 3 products, right? You're featuring one product, really prominently over, with the image and the product image, and the text, and you've made it keyword relevant. So as you start to link those up, if you have a broader keyword, I'm going to go back to the example we just had on toner. Let's just say acne toner. So he's got several different products for acne. So a toner, a scrub, and a wash. So when you're going in after a keyword like acne, cure acne, fix acne, acne skin, acne relief, if you're going after those broad acne keywords, going to a store page could be tremendously good for you if all the products within the store are on their own parent ASINs, right? They're on different pages. There's no way that the shopper is going to kind of easily navigate between products. And they're going to be looking for different solutions for acne. Some want a scrub, some want some like a wash, some want a toner, some want a moisturizer, just depending on what's going on with their skin. So on that place, you could bring that general acne search off of headline search to a store. And then you're going to let them self-select the product, which is going to be far more profitable for you than, say, just taking them to a toner page or taking them to a scrub page where there's a possibility that they're looking for a different kind of medium for the solution. Now, when you get to the next level in the funnel, where it is acne, and this is the purpose of ad groups. This is the purpose of campaigns. So, again, they're not just keyword groups, right? They're advertising groups. And especially in headline search, they are without question designed to target ads to people, right? That's what ad groups are for. And in headline search, it's campaigns. But as you start to segment those, headline search gives you the copy potential and the conversion path potential to really kind of start to match searches to buyers in a better way, in a more relevant way, and kind of increase your performance, which you need on a banner with that high cost that it requires to get that top position. So once the acne keywords are going to the store and they're kind of self-selecting all the acne products because you don't really know what they need for that problem, the next group is going to be someone looking for an acne toner. Now that search, acne toner, should go directly to your acne toner page because, again, people are not looking for more information in search. They're looking for less. That's the beauty of search. When someone is just out cruising the product placements on Amazon, which we know 80% of people do, they're not looking for a specific solution. They're shopping, which means it's kind of like a leisure activity and they're poking around. But when someone goes to the search engine, any search engine, whether it's Google or Amazon or any text-based search engine, they are super trying to shorten the path of information and get to write what they want. So without question, your shopper wants the quickest solution, and the shopper wants what he or she has defined as closely as possible. They don't want options. They don't want tons of information. They want like the very best products for acne toner, and they want it right now. That's what search is for, right? It's implied demand and it's real time. So when someone puts in acne toner, if it's that clear of a query, you don't want to take them to your store where they have to like poke around and say, oh, I see a scrub. Oh, I see a soap. Oh, I see this lady's face with her cured acne. I see a video. They don't want any of that. They want to go straight to the buy page for acne toner. That's why they search for it. So when you're trying to convert cold traffic, all this is cold in advertising. It's not warm. They don't know you. So when you're trying to convert cold traffic to sales, you definitely want to link them straight to a product page as fast as possible. If it's a broader top level search, there are some benefits to going to a store. But that's only going to be if you have multiple parent ASINs and there's no connection between them. So again, the shopper is going to be on kind of an island of one product that may not be relevant to the query.
And Shane, I've got a follow up there. In a headline search ad, how do you take people to the store? Is that in the setup?
Okay. In a headline search ad, how do you take people to the store? So the main thing is you do set that up. You set up your Amazon store separately. So if you go into Seller Central and there'll be a navigation tab up with your advertising and reporting tabs, all your reporting links, not tabs, but menu options. And one of those will be stores. Stores is a standalone menu option in Seller Central, not sponsored products, but Seller Central. And you can create an Amazon store for all of your products right there. And we do that for clients. And I can tell you again, on targeted keywords, the stores do not convert. I wouldn't even try it. And I can tell you from data as well as just ad 101 knowledge, but we've tested it. And without question though, on the broader terms, you'll see a little more traction out of the store possibly, depending on how your product is shopped.
Okay, back up here. Liz is asking, are you putting negative keywords on each ad group keyword or each ad group? Are you putting negative keywords on each ad group?
It's interesting. My structure, I don't. I put negative keywords at the campaign level, although there's no harm in layering them in at an ad group level. I use single phrase match negatives. And because each of my campaigns is very well segmented to advertise only one product, normally my product has a long list of negative phrase match keywords that just define that product. So I normally don't need to put them in at the ad group level because I am using my campaign as like one solid initiative to convert sales on one product and one product variation. So with that in mind, that product variation, the negatives stay pretty consistent. Again, if I'm doing skinny jeans, I don't have ripped, I don't have boot cut, I don't have men's, I don't have juniors, single keywords, right? Boot cut, men's, juniors. So when I'm advertising skinny jeans, it's highly unlikely that one ad group will need additional negatives. I have found in all of my campaigns that I do best with phrase match, single word negatives at the campaign level, but of course it applies to a single product.
Okay, let's see here. And Sanora is clarifying their question. The question is, how do you take them to shop store that is already present in a headline ad? It's just in the setup of the ad. Correct?
Yeah, it's going to be in your settings on where to direct the traffic. And if for some reason it's, you'll want to reach out to Amazon if for some reason you can't link traffic to your store from headline, because you should be able to. But I know there's a lot of changes in the interface. So the majority of our campaigns, we're always linking them to product pages. But if you do have this kind of, acne solution that we've been discussing, I would go ahead and go set up a new headline search ad. First of all, you won't be able to change anything in your headline search ads. And so if you're running headline search and sponsored products, and again, so know also that we do a lot of headline search over in AMS, but if you're running headline search in sponsored products, you'll just want to check with your rep why you can't link to the store, because it's going to be part of your linking options.
Okay. How do you treat an ad group seed keyword when it isn't converting well on its own, but it's driving a ton of profitable search term discovery?
Well, I think it depends on how good those profitable, I think, at a certain point, you should have some of the big, good seed, the good mined keywords. So I would start to kind of incrementally lower the bid on that keyword until it gets to your break even point. If you want to mine more aggressively, you can invest a little bit of money in that, especially if the keywords are coming out profitably. But you can always just lower your bid on that single keyword, make sure it's in its own group, lower the bid on it. Kind of peel it out of the main scale group, get it into a single so you can, bid optimize it, and then just lower the bid to where you're at break even.
Okay. It looks like Scott's got the next question. It's a little bit long, but I don't know. I don't think you should need to take notes, but maybe you do. So maybe have a pen and paper ready here.
Okay.
I'm really struggling to find those hidden gem profitable keywords. 80% of my traffic comes in from 3 relatively broad keywords that I just can't win on profitably. Interestingly enough, not a single customer search term has produced 3 or more orders and therefore don't meet the requirements of scale. It seems to me that I need to judge the success of the 3 broad match keywords not by themselves, but as an aggregate to all the sales that they are bringing in on singular search terms, and that I need to keep mining in order to ultimately discover some scale keywords. Since my product is a repeat purchase, I'm willing to sell the first order at a loss as we have a fairly high repeat purchase rate. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would definitely say you want to consider lifetime value, but not to go upside down. And I would treat those keywords again. You just have to be pragmatic with the data. If that's where your sales are coming in, and it could be, again, in Amazon, it could be a broad keyword that drives all the sales. It really can. It's not surprising when you're in Amazon.com that people just click and buy. I mean, doing simple searches like razors and then buying their refills, or, just simple phrases. So that is really part of the Amazon search stream, is the simplicity of the queries. And I have to say, with Google, I don't know if Amazon will be the same, but over a decade, Google's queries got more complex as people got better at navigating the results. So, you may find over time that you get more long tail out of Amazon as people become more savvy searching it. But right now, there's a lot of short tail happening there, which is pretty common in the early phases. So I would just say that you want to capitalize on those short tail keywords. You want to make them your predominant focus. You want to make sure you're leveraging all match types on those 3 keywords. You're separating them out by match type, and you want to be sure that you're adjusting your bids accordingly. That you can bid to kind of break even. You definitely want to break even on those, because as close to break even as you can. Now, you have a high lifetime value, so you can pay a little bit more to acquire the customer, but I would be sure that you are really clear of what percentage of people are repeat purchases that buy from Amazon. Of all your buyers, how many became repeat orders. This is all stuff you would get through Seller Central and through your own data mining. But I think you'll want to have a deep understanding of that lifetime value before you invest beyond break even in advertising. Okay, Melissa, hold on one sec. I'm going to grab some more water. Yeah. Hold on one sec.
Of course. And thank you guys so much for your fantastic questions today. Everything is coming through great. You guys are really taking our feedback on how to pose those questions to us, and you're really taking that in. So I really do appreciate that.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. Info 502 has the next question. It says, hi, when launching a new business or brand, it's expected and usual to invest in advance and not to even reach break-even point during the first few months. Is this idea valid in any case regarding advertising on Amazon PPC?
No. I mean, I wish it was, but there's so many metrics that could be indicating a problem. Like, you should be able to break even on the ads, because it could be a situation where early on, you're always going to pay a little bit more, to build your sales history and to acquire those new customers. So it may be a little bit higher, but just make sure it's not above those thresholds we reviewed on Tuesday. If you're 10% or 15% above ACoS, that could start to balance out, especially 10%. But if you're going any further above your target ACoS than that, you're in a zone that most likely won't be optimized without bid adjustments. Because with each market, you're looking at how well your product is selling against the competition, and you're looking at kind of how the CPC is in your market against your margins, right? Like, how have you priced this product compared to, to the CPC prices? Cost per click against margin is a big metric. And, you need to be looking at that, because if you don't have the right margin, that CPC is not going to work. And I think I'd be looking at a lot of other variable factors. I would still be looking at why it's not profitable and trying to optimize for break even, just to keep on the safe side. Now, you will be paying more for your advertising up front, but if you are going to do that, you just need to be super clear that you're investing in other strategies at the same time, because advertising is the very best tool to kind of maintain your kind of overall sales velocity once you've hit it. But you definitely need to be working on an organic ranking strategy very aggressively, because you got to meet your ads with organic placement. It's very challenging with any type of advertising to not have good organic rank, simply because people come back and search again, not maybe just for your brand, but in broad keywords. So, to kind of balance out your ad cost, your organic strategy is a huge win, and it must be done over time. I understand you won't have it at first, but you just want to be sure that if you're investing in advertising and you're slightly at a loss, not hugely at a loss, you just really want to be sure you're balancing those initiatives with a clear organic ranking strategy and a clear kind of sales kind of launch strategy to back up the ad money. If you do advertising as a standalone kind of thing and the other pieces haven't come together yet, reviews and organic rank and kind of the organic pieces of Amazon, you may find a little bit of it's a bit too heavy of a burden, the ad spend, based on what your target ACoS is.
Okay, great. Next question. What do you do with the competitors' ASINs in the SDR that happen to be the same competitors that bring you sales, but are also causing them to lose money with high ACoS or no sales? It's just spend.
But they're bringing you sales. So those competitors you'll just need to, within your own mind, look at that ASIN and determine the risk versus the reward. If you get 56 orders, for example, from an ASIN profitably, and then you have 3 or 4 trailer places with 3 or 4 clicks, look at the spend on that. Is the majority of the spend profitable? Or is the majority of the spend at a loss? And that kind of indicates where you're going with it. If they're profitable, but not scalable profitable, that's always the difference with advertising, is what can we scale? So if we're asking ourselves what we can scale, then the question becomes, which of these is scalable? Which of the higher order numbers are profitable or not? And if you have a mix there, you probably need more data. So if it's like equal, then you don't have enough data because it'll never stay equal. So continue to get enough data to where you can see the trend. Like, is that a winner overall or is it a loser overall? And that has to do with the amount of spend that you lose or make. So you kind of have to gauge that yourself and make those decisions. But you definitely are going to, there's no black and white thing there, right? There's just this kind of mix. And again, it's kind of unusual for something to be profitable and lose money at the same time. Normally one or the other is higher in the numbers. Normally it is performing the majority of the time profitably, and then once in a while it's not, or it's performing the majority of the time not profitably, and then it doesn't matter what it's doing.
Okay, the second part of that question is, some of those ASINs are from my own brand that are causing me to lose or win. So it sounds like some of them are losing and some of them are winning. I have similar products with different features, so I need to use the same keywords.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I understand how that would work. I'm looking right now at these questions, but let me see. First of all, keep in mind that Merchant Words is not Amazon search data. So whatever Merchant Words says, it's valuable, but it's not coming out of Amazon. So when you see 1.8 million searches in Merchant Words, it's not accurate. Yeah, it sounds like
and this is from Shozeri, Shozeri, so it's played down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. On that one, I'm not seeing a clear path there. I don't know if I can answer that without more information.
Okay, so Rob's got the next question here. Can you confirm and or fine tune? My top keyword is producing 80% of the sales, and it's, let's see here. Sales, read this right. Okay, my top keyword is producing 80% of the sales, and I put the keyword into a single ad group in both phrase and broad. But if those very same keywords have 3+ sales, which they must fit if they produce 80% of sales, then they also should be put into scale as exact match. What are you doing with the search terms that have less than 3 sales but have good target ACoS?
Nothing. You don't have enough data on them. You can go off 2 orders minimum, but you'll have a lot more pausing to do. You'll have a lot more bleed that way if you do 2+, but it's aggressive and it works. Because half will make it, half won't once they get to scale. So I think you want more data to keep your budget tight and to keep your sales history tight. Go for 3. That'll be just conservative, right? It'll be right there in the middle. So I would say 3. If you don't have 3+ orders, there's nothing to do with those. You don't have enough data to show you they're going to continue to scale. Again, you can go off of 2 orders if you want, but it's not a lot of click data, and half of those will work and half of them won't. If you have the budget to do that, you should, for sure. 2+ will work. Just know that a lot more will bleed money and not be profitable and have to be paused. But if you're watching that closely and you have a budget to accommodate that test, then you can go off 2, but certainly nothing less than 2. There's no data there. There's very few clicks to get a sale in Amazon as it is. So your click data is minute. It's just completely irrelevant when you get below 2 orders. And it even becomes better at 3 orders. And so if you have that keyword, if you have the keyword as exact in scale, and then you have it as a single and broad in phrase, then you have that keyword maximized in all positions, and it should just be generating sales.
Okay. And I'll get the next one.
And then sometimes, one more thing, sometimes your broad in phrase, one or the other will work better, and you'll end up probably picking the top performer there, unless you have one of those golden keywords. Like I have a few that work in both broad and phrase, and then you could double up the traffic. But a lot of times your singles, you'll pick broader phrase after you start to scale them and get enough traffic.
Okay. I'm in a kitchenware niche where it seems to be very competitive. I think my keywords and ad groups are ready to go. Should I hit the go button now, or do you suggest I wait until class is over? I'm quite nervous spending the $500 budget a day.
Well, don't be nervous with the budget. You should just lower the budget to where you're comfortable. So do whatever you're comfortable with for testing. If this is your first time running advertising, just do what you're comfortable with. Put it at 100 a day. Put it wherever you need to have it at to be comfortable with what you can spend to test. Just know that once you move out of phase 1 and you know what your keywords are going to do, and you start to put in your singles and scale, there can be no winning without an uncapped budget. So when you start an initial goal of getting the data and getting the test data, set the budget daily, whatever you're comfortable with, to get enough data to learn. That could be your phase 1. Don't worry about a $500 a day budget. But if you're in this class and you came to this class to get more traffic, more sales, to kind of take your existing game to the next level, you got to uncap that budget, because that is the first kind of rule to playing with the algorithm, is to uncap the budget. But if you're in phase 1 and you're testing this and you're still building your own skills in advertising, building your own product history, learning about conversion rates, all the things that you're going to learn through the data stream, definitely set a budget that you're 100% comfortable with. Just know that I want to be transparent that the capped budget is always going to limit your ability to take category, to take market share, to take rank. But that's really not as important if you're just trying to test everything within your comfort level and not blow a bunch of money. Feel free to set your budget how you see fit, whatever you're comfortable for a test budget. And you should just go. You have enough information now to go. If you have the right keywords, you have a clean campaign structure, you've got your match types, you understand modifiers, you should be able to go to market and see what happens. And just know that every market on Amazon is competitive. This kind of funny idea of, even in these tools that show you how to find markets, it's just non-existent. Like, the markets are out there, the tools are out there. You need to use them to determine, what the product sales potential is, what the velocity is, what the market looks like. Those tools are so valuable, like Jungle Scout, Helium 10. There's no question they're very valuable tools. But you are not, in 2018, going to discover a category on Amazon that is not competitive. Amazon is a very competitive distribution channel.
Okay. Will PPC sales make us rank organically? How does that affect organic rank with PPC sales?
Will PPC sales affect your organic rank?
Yes.
Yes. Your PPC sales will affect your overall visibility. It's not a strategy. There's no way to bid on keywords in PPC and then see your positions in search change dramatically on that keyword. That doesn't work. There's no kind of direct correlation keyword to keyword. So you can invest a ton of money on a keyword in advertising, and your rank organically, your overall visibility and rank is going to improve across the product. So what you're really trying to gauge there is going to be total sales. Total sales, total orders for that product. You kind of want to look and make sure that you're really converting traffic at a nice place, and that you're seeing a total win, right? To where you're looking at, are your total orders going up? Are your total sales going up? Are you seeing this kind of lift across, your entire ASIN or ASINs? So you're looking at those total orders as the gauge of organic success, but you won't be able to see specific keyword related organic wins at this point with just Amazon advertising. There were times in 2016 and early 2017 where you could actually boost the organic position of a keyword with advertising. Without question, we did it all the time. So, but that ended as they made a lot of changes to the algorithm in Q4 2017. At that point, a lot of things changed. One, there was no more sidebar ads. Two, you couldn't get two ASINs for the same brand to show on the same keywords at the top of search. And three, you weren't able to just get straightforward organic wins off paid ads. But I have yet to see any indication that the total sales continues to grow and total orders across each product that we advertise. And when we invest more in advertising and we take new initiatives that are successful, we definitely see a huge lift the following month in terms of overall total sales on that ASIN across the whole Amazon platform. So that's kind of what we gauge our numbers by: total sales. Total orders, and we do it at a product level based on how much we're investing in advertising. So you're going to see a lot of wins on the total side, but you won't be able to necessarily track those keyword by keyword to your organic placements.
All right. And Rob wanted to clarify his question. The first part of that question was, if those very same keywords have 3+ sales, which they must if they produce 80% of the sales, then they should also go and scale as exact match, correct?
Yes, if you have a key, if you have it exactly, as long as you're keeping it in broad and phrase as single, and then scale is exact. Yes. And keep in mind, guys, it's easier if you just post one question at a time. I know sometimes they relate, but one question at a time helps us kind of sort those out, because we try to take one question per person so we can make sure everyone gets their questions answered. So sometimes that's a little tricky. So if you just post one question in your thread, it gives us a little bit of an easier chance answering it. Melissa? I think Melissa may have dropped, so we'll have to see what she does for sure. So I don't know where she's at right now. Looks like she dropped off the bridge. So hold on. I'll go ahead and answer some questions here in the admin until she comes back. I'll just be sneaky and pick the ones I want. And also with your PPC sales ranking organically, just know that it takes time. You're definitely looking at like 90 days, before you start to see a big dent there. You definitely aren't going to see.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. You aren't going to see huge wins right out the gate on organic or total sales. You definitely have to give it a little bit of time, like the 30-day mark, to start seeing progress, and then 60 and 90 days. You'll definitely see more velocity over time. The longer that you get to know the algorithm, and the longer the algorithm gets to know you, the longer the more results you're going to see.
Sorry about that. The bridge went staticky and then I got kicked off. I'm not really sure what happened there.
Yeah, no worries.
Here. Okay, Julie's got a question here. Can you please give us a formula to find our target ACOS that takes total sales into account? Do you have anything like that, Cherie?
No, there's no formula like that. You have to look at your ad spend across ad spend. You have to break even on ad spend and then track total sales to see if you have gains. You don't want to make your target ACOS accommodate total sales, because then you can end up losing money across all sales. You don't want that, right? Like, you don't want your total sales impacted by a loss in advertising. Your goal is that your advertising is an island of break-even spend. Nothing comes out of your pocket, nothing won, nothing gained. All you're getting is complete sales history at scale with the Amazon algorithm to rank and sell. It's a break-even proposition. So you will not account total sales into your advertising break-even point, right? I mean, like, you want a break-even that's based on your actual ACOS, which is the percentage that you can pay to acquire a customer from the sale price of your product on Amazon. So you have the sale price of your product. What percentage of that sales price can you pay in advertising at break even, accounting for the other percentages which are related to your cost of goods sold and Amazon fees? So you definitely want to break even on sales at all times in advertising. Now, you can average. Don't get me wrong here. You have to do this. You can average, as you start to scale your campaigns, your ACOS across all ad groups in one campaign. That's smart, right? That's super smart. So like as you start to kind of, but only after you've started scaling, at first you need to get the keywords leverage that are doing really well. But then from there, you could start looking across brand, competitor, and category keywords and get a target ACoS that you're break even at the top line, the average. And that's an okay place to be. It's not the right way to optimize. It's certainly not what you want to do in the beginning. But if you are a maverick with a ton of traffic, later in the game, you can be kind of averaging to make sure you're not losing money. Your goal is still to optimize every keyword for break even. But if you're averaging a good ACoS that's below your target on all ad groups in one campaign, then that initiative is at break even, and that's okay. So you just need to track it a few different ways. But the main thing you want to be looking at is keyword level ACoS. You don't want to be losing money on it. It's just got to be ad spend to cost of goods sold. And can those two numbers add up to break even? And you guys are so awesome. It's so good to see everybody today. You know, Julie, Diana, Rob, all you guys, Smile, Fanner, you guys are just diehard on the trail. Carolina, I mean, every week you guys are really jamming through this. And it's just going to be such a payoff and such a win for you to kind of understand how to really sell more of your products on Amazon, because it is quite an opportunity. In the sense, there's just a lot of sales on that search engine. I'm always shocked by it. Hey, Melissa, you there? This is so strange. It's the second time she's dropped. I know we don't have any trouble with our phone lines. I wonder, this is not going so well. We may have a technical difficulty on Melissa's end. I'm not sure why this is happening. Hang on one sec, guys. I'll just go to the next question while I see what she's doing. Yes, you guys, thanks so much. Let me see where I'm at here. Okay. It's hard for me to read them and sit here. That's why I need Melissa. Where are you at? So strange. What is happening? Hold on, guys. I'm going to check Slack and see where she's at. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call back into our bridge and reset this. Because there must be something going on with our bridge. We call into like an audio kind of conference bridge to get this Melissa and I to merge. So give me 1 minute, guys. I'm going to come right back with fresh sound. So hold on one sec. Okay, that should have been a good fix. Melissa, you there? No. No. Why is that happening? Let's go ahead and turn this off and start again. See if this works. I think it did. Melissa, are you there?
I'm here. Hello?
Hello, Melissa?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can I hear you through my headphones? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, let's read questions. I think it's back on. There it goes. I don't know what happened with that.
Oh my goodness. This is a crazy thing. That never ever happens. Okay, I'm keeping up with questions though. So I have everything still here. And everybody's questions are getting added to the list. So don't worry about that. I watched it while we were going through all that.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, something happened, guys. The bridge crashed, our audio bridge. I have no idea. It's never done that. But hey, there's always a new technical difficulty, right?
Yeah, always a new issue.
Always something that we can tackle on the technical front.
Awesome. So Diana has a question here. It says, and a little bit of feedback, positive feedback we love, guys. Hi, Cherie. First of all, I wish I had your expertise. Oh my goodness. Regarding analyzing orders versus keywords and search terms, I'm confused how to count the order for keywords and search terms. I'm seeing in my search term report various rows with the same keyword. Should I summarize the orders for those rows and then calculate max CPC? Would those be the same for search terms?
You know, I would go ahead and use your search term report. Again, we have several guides on that. Just use the search term report out the gate to get a good understanding of which search terms are in your target ACoS. And then from there, you want to look for the unique search terms. So you definitely want to get into the members area today. There's a guide already posted. And again, please excuse the blurry images because I need to have the designer re-output it. Somehow the image, you know how sometimes you put a PDF out and like the image quality blurred for some reason in the export settings. So I need to send it back to the designer and she'll get it perfect like our others. But as of right now, it's in the members area and it's called search term report. It's like your first search term report guide that shows you how to kind of format the search term report to use the data. And I would start there and look at that guide, and that was going to give you an understanding of how to read the data. The second guide tells you how to go ahead and analyze the data, and then the third tells you how to start moving stuff and make decisions. But I would definitely say you're looking at it as a pulse across your keyword, right? So your keyword's going to produce a lot of different search terms. So with that, you know, you'll learn some steps in guide 3 that really shows you how to analyze each keyword. But what I was talking about earlier that you really want to look at definitively is that overall keyword good for you, high and low? Like on the high side, is it delivering a lot of orders profitably? And if it's not on the low side, like there's some random variation coming in, you want to add that as a negative versus doing anything with the keyword, right? So the key with the search term report is you don't want to isolate the cost just at the keyword level early on, because you want to have an understanding of which of those search terms is really working for you and what variations that keyword is mining, because the keyword is going to continue to mine those search terms, right? So if you see, like, for example, your keyword comes in, let's just say it's red bandana, and you see at the top of your orders, it gives you kind of, red bandana women's. It's going to continue to get those red bandana women searches. So you want to kind of account at the keyword level, like if it's working overall high or overall low, and just get a really good gauge if that keyword is overall profitable and overall not. You'll definitely see it skew one way or the other. There's no perfection in it because it's not a science, because you're kind of leaving it up to the odds of the algorithm to kind of show your ads on all variations of that keyword. That's why you're being aggressive, because you need to do that. But so there's no perfect science to whether a keyword's not going to always be perfect or always be terrible, but you want to kind of look at the overall average and determine if that keyword is a win or a loss. And it'll show up pretty clearly when it is. And then without question, you can use the search terms that come in that aren't relevant and build them in as negatives. So that's the way I would analyze that data. And again, there's several more layers that we'll add in on the step-by-step that you can actually do, but you can get the best view just by analyzing the data, like I said there, looking at the highs and lows, and then use that first round of search term optimization before you start cutting costs to take the profitable search terms and get those moved back into your account as exact match and scale.
All right. Cora has a question here. Would it make sense in the beginning, while my rank and sales history is bad, to focus on the lower search term volume to gain relevancy there first before going after the high volume keyword that to the T hits my product competitors?
You can test that, but just know that, when you're coming after market, you just may find some of those higher volume keywords. And the ones, it's all going to be exactly like what we're seeing here. How do your products convert? Are they converting at a better rate on the more targeted keywords? Are they converting at a better rate on the broader keywords? You certainly don't want to shy away as you're building history from the ones that they convert on. So if you can take a mid-tail keyword that's not super broad and convert on it, which a lot of the time you can, like a 2-word phrase with a good benefit should work fantastic in some markets. So if you're in most markets, so if you have a mid-tail phrase that works really well to convert to sales, and build sales history there and don't worry about going up into the browse funnel. But if you have one of those products where the mid-tail keywords just don't drive enough volume or enough sales, you'll need to go ahead a step up and start looking at broader keywords, even if they're more competitive, because that's where your shopper is shopping. No matter what you choose to do in the end, you have to find the shopper when they're shopping and as they're starting to make decisions, so that your brand can be in the consideration of what they're looking for. And that's another big thing to keep in mind, guys. Huge thing to keep in mind. This is your only opportunity in search to start acquiring fresh customers that don't have brand preference. Right? And you don't realize it because you don't see the data, but the majority, a lot of Amazon shoppers come with brand preference, and they go looking for a particular brand on Amazon, add it to their cart and check out, or they go ahead and add something from their orders that they've done previously and check out. So search in Amazon is the one opportunity you have to hit a buyer when they, for some reason, don't have a preference, or they're looking to competitively look for something different than what they have been buying. So definitely search is insanely valuable for customer acquisition, because it's your only opportunity to kind of know immediately in a customer's mind that, hey, they're looking for something different. You know what I mean? They don't have a brand in mind, and this is a time for your brand to win that preference.
Okay, on to our next one here. As you go through phase 1, what do you do if all the browse and shop keywords end up being way over your target ACoS?
Then you have a conversion. You'll need to pause those campaigns and get some listing optimization done. I don't know anybody in particular to do that. I know that one of the women who is very talented at it is a woman named Karen that owns Marketing Words, and she and I have had some exchanges. She's just really good at it. I don't know what she's got copywriters and she's got a team, and I don't know what her schedule is like. And again, I don't, and even being in the amazing community, this would be a great question for you to ask your advisors, to your coaches, your teachers, your mentors over there, because it is a seller's community. I'm highly focused on advertising, converting clicks to sales and new customer acquisition and competition. Those are my strategies. Those are where I specialize. But in terms of listing optimization, there's a lot of people that do it well in the Amazon world, a lot. And I would say that you have a conversion issue without question, depending on how far above your ACoS. Now, if you're saying that all your keywords are 10 or 15% above ACoS, like we talked about those thresholds on Tuesday. If you're at 10 or 15%, then that's not nasty. That just simply means you've got really high CPCs in your market, and maybe that cost is exceeding your margins based on how you've priced it and what percentage you're at. So, if you're going back to like an earlier question we had from Lure VIP, where she had a 23% ACoS target, that's very low in Amazon, very low when it comes to advertising, because advertising will require an additional 10% on top of that, right? So 23% is low unless you have serious velocity and some major reviews. If you have a lot of reviews, I have one client that our target is 25%, but we also have 44,000 reviews, right? So it's a little bit of a different equation, but the majority of my clients are in that 35% target range, which seems to work well at scale. So I think you definitely want to be looking at what your margin is. You can always reprice. Pricing is definitely a science, and you could change it as frequently as you like to get it to work. I would price for advertising if you have any competitive margin there. But I would definitely be looking at optimizing. If you're 10% above your target, just lower your bids. If you're 15%, just lower your bids. You can get that to work for you without question. Just be very kind of baby foot as you lower bids so you don't lose traffic. Do them very, ramp up fast and ramp down slow in the bidding world on Amazon. But you can kind of slowly ramp down your bids, and then you'll probably get to a good ACoS if you're at 10 to 15% above. Now, again, if you're talking crazy ACoS, 50%, 2x your digits. So you're trying to hit 25 and you're at 50, or, you're trying to hit 25 and you're at 75. That's done. Like, you need to go get some listing optimization if it's happening across all keywords, because there's definitely a kind of a gap there between the shopper and the page. And if they're looking for that keyword, like I said, normally they're not looking for more information. So if that product page contained what they were looking for, they would most likely make a purchase decision, especially on Amazon.
All right. What match types do you use in headline ads? Do you try all three?
Yes, all three in headline ads. Absolutely. So I would try broad, phrase, and exact and see which one sticks. And in headline, I am very, very diligent about separating my keywords, like I taught on Tuesday, but I'm definitely doing it based only, I'm not separating my keywords for keyword buckets. I'm separating my keywords for advertising. I'm putting my keywords in groups where I can write ads that are relevant to the text. So people in search love to scan. They like to put in a keyword and they immediately will scan to find that keyword in the listing. So since I have the 50 characters of headline search to pitch, I always am putting my keywords, the relevant keywords, in the copy wherever possible, to get that kind of click to CTR, that CTR advantage. And you'll have to split test to make sure that that's going to be the right way to present your product. But I always keep my keywords in tight groups. Definitely broad, phrase, exact in separates, and then any other group that has a unique modifier. So if I'm doing jeans, I'd have denim in a separate group from, say, mid-rise, from, say, skinny, skinny distress. They'd all be in different groups because I'd be trying to put that in the ad copy, like best distressed skinny jeans, best mid-rise skinny jeans, best denim, right? Best women's denim, women's denim jeans. So if I have a keyword that's a distinct modifier, I'm trying to include that modifier in my ad copy to kind of get that search, that click to search kind of advantage.
Okay, great. Can you clarify if and when we should use phrase match types in browse and shop ad groups?
Whenever, phrase is always going to be your kind of wild card. It's going to generate a lot more traffic, but you never know how it's going to convert. I would say if you're on a limited budget, I would stick with broad and stick with exact. But if it's a keyword that's only used as a phrase, it's best just to bid on it as a phrase. So when we're talking about keywords that are, so for example, if you're coming in and you have, a keyword like, skinny jeans could be broad, skinny jeans could be exact. Jeans, skinny, probably only a phrase, right? There's going to be words in front of that and behind it to make it a full word. Look at the keyword and actually decide, is this something that's going to only be a phrase? Is this word only going to exist with other words behind it or in front of it to make it a complete sentence, complete keyword? So if it's a keyword phrase, which means it's just a segment, it's not really a full word on its own, I would use phrase match. And then again, be judicious though if you have a tight budget, because phrase match will scale very rapidly, but it's also the most wild card in the search. Okay, Melissa, one more sec. Hold on. I'm going through water today. Hold on. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem. And we have gone through everybody's initial question. If somebody else is posting their initial question, I'll certainly go to that. But we're going back through repeats, and I just want to let you guys know, I have all of your questions. No need to resubmit them, and we're going back in order that they were submitted. So if you feel like I missed yours, I didn't. It's right here. No reason to resubmit. We're just going through them in the order they were submitted.
Okay. I'm ready for the next one. Let's do it.
All right. You said before, when setting the default bid for scale ad group, look at the suggested bids for all the keywords and start 40% higher than the highest suggested bid.
40 cents higher, 40 cents higher.
Yeah, 40 cents higher than the suggested bid. But won't it be quite tricky to be checking when you have the top ad positions for all your keywords you have in scale? Basically, how did you get to the point of bidding $6.48 for your scale group?
I just continue to increase the bid. So what I do with that is I have my search term report. We have a good idea of which keywords are driving the most sales, the ones we've added as exact match. We know they're high drivers, and we go ahead and we continue to increase our bid until those most competitive, highest converting words are ranking. And then from there, we notice that the majority of words in that group also continue to rank. So just take, again, you've just got to go on this really broad. I mean, again, you're just not going to have enough time or energy in a day to split hairs, because it's not going to be advantageous. It's like all things, progress versus perfection. The last thing you want to do is be so crazy splitting hairs that you miss all the money that just can be scooped up with a really kind of simplified, to the point strategy. So rather than split hairs, I would be very focused on, like, okay, what are the main keywords in that scale group? You'll have a handful of them, right? Like 5, 10 keywords, 20 keywords over time. And then just checking those fairly regular for rank until they're ranked. And you're going to find that the most competitive one with the most sales and that high bid threshold, if you continue increasing the bid, once that one ranks, the rest will rank as well. Especially after some time of building sales history on those keywords, you're going to find the majority of keywords in that group will rank if your most competitive, highest volume ones are ranking. So you want to manually check the keywords in scale that actually drive the highest number of orders, and you should only have a handful of those.
Right. Next one here. Do we put multiple keywords into the same ad group only into scale and buy ad groups? In Shop, Browse, and Brand, do we always put different keywords in and match types in separate ad groups?
One more time on that.
Yeah. It says, do we put multiple keywords into the same ad group only in scale and buy ad groups? So multiple keywords in the same ad group in the scale and buy ad group. But in the Shop, Browse, and Brand, do we always put different keywords and then different keywords and match types in separate ad groups?
No. All of your keywords are in multiple match types, and you're just trying to segment your keywords based on the shopper funnel. So it's an initiative to make them work together. So you got the keywords that are scaling. You got the keywords where people are buying, but it's not profitable. You've got the ones where they're shopping and they're browsing and you're trying to learn how they convert. You've got your brand keywords. Later on, you'll have your competitor keywords. They're all in one campaign. Essentially, those segments are only designed to be focused not on the match type, just focused on, the match types that are going to work. You can put multiple match types in one group because not all match types are going to work. So you're going to put them in and you're going to test them. The only keywords that get their own match type and their own ad group are the ones that drive 80% of your sales. I'm talking like 80-20. Your very, very highest performing conclusive data drive a ton of orders. It really is going to be easy to see. One keyword might drive 80 sales and the other one might drive 10. One keyword might drive, again, 85, 80, 75, 60. Those are your keywords that you want to separate into singles to get more traffic out of them because they're broader keywords. So the broad and phrase match are very effective to mine, but they're not effective on all keywords. So broad and phrase match aren't going to be as powerful on mid and long tail keywords. They don't do much different. There's not a lot of search variation on those keywords. It's only those short tail, high searched, high competition, must win keywords that you separate into single groups to get the most traffic possible. So the most you would have in a campaign is like 5 to 10 single ad groups that are actually running and successful. That would be the most.
Okay. All right. Question here. I'm starting out in phase 1 and I have a lot of juicy keywords to test in Browse and Shop.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I want to dive in and test them all, but I'm uncertain if I have the budget for it. And I'm uncertain how to determine what my budget can handle before getting to a place where my campaigns pay for themselves. The question is, how do you strike a balance between your budget and how many keywords in that budget that you can test in phase 1?
Well, some things to manage budget. First and foremost, start in Shop where you can at least know you have a good modifier in there. Like if I'm selling bandanas, I'll start on the word red bandana, which is a color variation that sells well for me before starting on the broad word bandana. If I'm selling on skinny jeans, I'll start on skinny jeans versus women's jeans. So start in a modified keyword and see if you can get traffic there first. So activate your Shop first if you're focused on budget. Set your budget where you want it, where you're comfortable with it, just to get the data. Just know that when you need to bid for rank and you need to scale, you'll need an uncapped budget to accomplish that goal, but you can start off wherever you're comfortable just to get the data. And then also you can start off with no phrase match. Just start off with exact and broad. That's another good budget reduction strategy, is just to not even test phrase match because it can be a bit of a wild card. And the last thing you could do is that's pretty much the things that you can do in that campaign to really make it work. Those 3 details. I think if you're focused on capping the budget where you're comfortable in phase 1, again, when your goal of phase 2 is to start scaling those things that sell, that cap budget will actually hinder you, not help you. But it will be fine in phase 1 till you get the initial data. Focus on broad and exact and kind of eliminate phrase. Start in the shop keywords, get those performing successfully, and then open up browse. And if for some reason the shop keywords aren't getting a lot of volume, you can always go ahead and kind of revert to browse to kind of fill in your budget and get more test data.
All right. Do you want to go over with once they finish the boot camp, what's the forum going to be for continued questions? I know we had a plan for that. Do you want to go over the details?
Yeah, it's just every single month. We have a live Q&A every single month through the end of the year.
Here. All right, next one here. If my browse keyword is jeans, can I put a very defining keyword in phase 2, like boot cut in a buy ad group with a different ASIN, but in the same jeans campaign?
Yes, that's a very effective strategy. The only time you might want to say separate out your boot cut and your skinny is only if boot cut has such huge search volume, which it doesn't. In the Levi's jeans, we saw the keyword volume in our keyword research report. It's not a ton of volume. Unless that keyword, like I showed you some examples on one of our research classes where we looked at coffee. Coffee's a killer. I mean, coffee is a big, big category, very popular, very aggressive, very highly competitive category. But more importantly, coffee has some clearly defined characteristics. People look for ground and they look for whole bean and they look for K-cups. They're like different types, and they all have enormous search potential. So yes, they all have search demand. So they need to be in their own groups without question. That's an example for coffee. But if you're getting into something like skinny jeans, absolutely, where you got 20, 30,000 searches on a specific keyword variation, the best way is to give those separate ad groups in one campaign and, have your boot cut ad group with only boot cut keywords to that boot cut image, and then have your skinny jeans to your skinny keywords. So the skinny shop now becomes skinny. Your skinny keywords are just going to your skinny jeans with the skinny, which is your best selling ASIN. And then all of your regular women's jeans keywords, when you get to that tier, and your brand keywords are going to go to your best seller. Any competitive keywords to your bestseller. But yeah, without question, setting up an ad group with those unique keywords is the very best way to tackle child ASINs that don't get massive search demand.
Miles really excited about the follow-up call.
I'm excited too, you guys. We've been fired up. We've been having a lot of good questions. You guys are doing it.
Yeah, these are awesome. Okay, next question. All the browse keywords I've selected have very high ACoS and eat up all of my profit, but it's provided scale keywords that convert in 3 to 8 clicks. What would be the best way to approach this?
Lowering those bid on those browse keywords, getting them into singles. If they are driving all the search terms and all the sales, even on, your to kind of in your initial data, get those browse keywords into singles and start to really baby foot down on the bid, start to lower the bid until you get to a break-even ACoS. You really can't lose a lot of money. It's okay at the first 30 days because you're mining data, you're learning things, you have a test budget. We have to test everything in business, right? There's nothing we can do without an investment in testing in business. Nothing. Trust me on my end too. This entire course was that kind of crazy thing for us. So you have to invest in things to figure stuff out. So you will need a test budget those first 30 days just to kind of learn and understand, but you're doing it with the best, most educated guests that you could possibly have. But after those 30 days, you've got to start to kind of ratchet those bids down. And you can ratchet them down right away if you're coming into crazy ACoSville of 2x, your target ACoS. But definitely start to lower those bids. You want to be at break even on those main keywords. But my suggestion would be to move them into single, broad, and phrase if they are driving all your profitable scale keywords, because they'll continue to do it forever. You're going to get new scale keywords every month for the history of the campaign. I'm talking years on years and years and years. You're going to continue to get those scale keywords, and they're going to keep coming out of the search term report off of those broad phrases. So without question, you're going to have more and more and more profitable keywords coming in on scale over time. And it's going to eventually tip the scale or tip the weights to where the majority of your sales are coming out of that profitable group. And that's when velocity just takes off and history just is strong and everything starts to kind of tip in your favor, right? So you definitely want to continue down that path. Just go ahead, separate those out, lower the bids very slowly, like 10 cents at a time. and kind of see where you need to lower the bids to get to a profitable break-even point.
All right. And Kirsty's asking here, how do I test or decide which product category I should list my product? Is switching to a different product category going to affect the algorithm, slow down the sales for a while? And can the same product be listed in a few different categories simultaneously?
Now that's going to be something that's on the seller side. I'm in no way any kind of like listing optimization expert. I do believe that as you take a new product to market, you should put it in the most relevant subcategory possible, so you are absolutely being measured against like competitors. Again, it's going to be very challenging. Like if we talk about men's accessories and you have a bandana and you go rank in this general accessories category, because then your velocity and your sessions and your sales are compared to things like sunglasses and wallet clips that get massive volume, and your bandanas are never going to compete. No matter how much you sell, you'll never take that little orange badge, which is a 20% conversion boost. No badge happening if you can't compete for sessions and sales in your category. So from there, I'm going to suggest always, if you have a brand new product, be really, practical, very pragmatic, and putting it in the category it goes in, because you want to win that badge and you want to be comparing apples and apples, oranges and oranges on Amazon to win that badge. Now, if you're already in a category and it's not the right category, like I've said on previous calls, we've tested that. And unfortunately, we lost traffic by recategorizing. So we put ourselves in the absolute right category and sales declined, and they didn't bounce back. So without question, would I suggest doing that? No, based on my limited experience of testing that, it didn't work well. So my advice is anytime you're categorizing a product before it's got rank, get it in the right place. My advice is if it already has rank, it's completely risk versus reward, because I have found in my experience, it caused sales to decline. Could not be your experience, though. You could have a totally different experience. I only have one example of trying to do that and it wasn't successful. So obviously I don't do it again. But that doesn't mean it won't work for you. You know what I mean? So I don't have it. Again, you're going to want to go back to the amazing crew, back to the mentors, back to these people that really understand like just the core Amazon business and selling on Amazon versus advertising on Amazon, and get with them in terms of how they would move categories.
And I wonder if this next question is on the same kind of topic, if you're giving the same answer to go ask the mentors and the amazing crew. So I'm going to ask this one next.
Mm-hmm.
I have to move a product that was on the first page in the wrong subcategory. How long before I can get that on that first page again with the new and right subcategory, assuming and bidding for rank, but using the keywords that were good and the keywords from the STR from when the product was in the wrong subcategory?
It may not. I mean, I've done that. It may never go back. It's a risk. Moving the categories, it could be a super huge win or it could be super huge loss. That's one of those things, like all things in business. It is 50-50. Unknown. You could either lose all rank and never come back, or you could have better results in the new category and it's worth the dip. Again, I have no advice on that one, and I wouldn't advise. The time I did it, it didn't work.
Okay. In the brand and competitor ad groups, the search term that can be mined from these, are those search terms going, hold on a second. In the brand and competitor ad groups, search terms that can be mined from these, are those search terms going into new ad groups brand scale, or are they going to regular scale?
Such a good question. They don't go into anything. They don't go into brand scale. They just go back into brand. That's such a great question. If you've got brand keywords and they're just converting to more sales, just add your long tail into brand. It's already highly segmented and your brand bid is very competitive, right? So your brand long tail, they go into brand. Just for the simple fact that they're only brand related and your brand bid is higher than anything else in your campaigns, and you're always going to win on brand for relevance. I mean, it's you. The algorithm knows that. So put it back into brand. All the long tails straight back into brand is exact. You can even add them back into brand as exact and broad. You can never have too many of your brand keywords because they're certainly never going to lose you money. So put them back into your brand ad group, and competitors are the same way. You mine them back into your competitor ad group, but please add them back in as broad. No exact matching competitors. Competitors do not work well as exact match keywords. Keep your competitors as broad in phrase as often as possible and keep them all in the competitor group. Once again, this is not about keyword segmenting or keyword buckets. This is about ad groups, and your ad group is designed for strategic bidding. So when we put that ad group together and we have those competitors, what we really want to see is all the competitors have kind of a threshold bid, because competitors convert at a lower rate than all other traffic. So if we're looking at our tiered performance, we get the lowest ACOS on brand. It's almost like a giveaway. It's like 5%, right? You get the mid-tail, highest volume, highest customer acquisition, highest everything on your category keywords, coming in after keywords, again, like just our general kind of skinny jeans, women's jeans, right? Those are where skinny jeans, women's jeans, bootcut jeans, that's where I'm getting all of my category keywords, right? I'm selling jeans, I'm winning on jeans. All the gene variations that are relevant. And then my brand is about my brand, people coming back to search for me and find me. Competitors are the highest ACOS. Like even if you have an optimized competitive campaign, most of the time it's in the 40% ACOS range for my clients. It's above everything else. Competitors are harder to convert, but essential for visibility. So because competitors cost more, you need to be sure that you're going to be reducing your bid on that ad group. You're not going to be hanging on too tight to them. Competitors that come in a bad ACOS, you don't even need to bid on them, right? Competitors' keywords with a bad ACOS, you don't even need them. They just aren't working for you. You only want the competitors' keywords that really work. You can take your category keywords and you can lower bids and buy, but competitors are like their own animal. And it's a great question. I'll make sure I address that in the guide, because it's important that you guys understand the difference between brand, competitor, and category. We get into it on the agency side far enough now that we've actually started segmenting all of our clients' spend by brand, competitor, and category, so we understand where we're investing our money, where we're acquiring new customers, and where the brand is growing. So these are very, very distinct categories in Amazon: brand, competitor, category. Treat those keywords separately in your search term report: brand back to brand, competitor back to competitor, category into scale. But I'll be sure to put that in a guide so you have that differentiation.
All right, Smile's next question is, do you suggest that I should only focus on Amazon sponsored ads and nothing else outside of that? Please advise.
Well, until you've mastered sponsored ads, of course. Now, would I say that's the end all be all? Like, hello, game's over, got all the traffic, good night, everybody. Not like that. So if you have one in sponsored ads, then you might move on and get the next piece of the market you can take. But you, without question, until you have one within the Amazon ecosystem, because remember, this is no Google heyday anymore. Amazon gets 65% of these searches out the gate. So 65% of your traffic will come directly to Amazon, and the only ones that don't have a brand preference are the ones that come after these browse and shop keywords. That's it. Anybody else coming to Amazon already knows what brand they want to buy, and they're going to be very hard to pry away. Anyone that doesn't have a preference is going to type these keywords into Amazon, and they are golden for customer acquisition. This is probably the only time in history you're going to convert 3 clicks to a sale, 4 clicks to a sale in any platform. And I've been running traffic for 15 years, and any Maverick's going to tell you that's crazy. So you are going to be acquiring customers at scale in Amazon. So when you're doing that, it's super important that you own that ecosystem first. 65%, right? We go back to 80-20. I mean, where are we going to put again, we can get all fragmented. We could try to put our thumbs in as many pies as possible, but it's a bad way to approach business. Business is every given day, any given Sunday, we can wake up and there's a million more things we could do in our business. We all know it, but you got to pick those frigging core activities that will make you money, and you got to tip it, right? So you could do a lot more. There's always more to do. You could be on Facebook, you could be on Instagram, you could be on Google, you could be in display, you could be on Shopify. Oh yeah, there's a lot more you could do. We wake up every day and there's only so much time and bandwidth we have. But right now you're on Amazon. It's the biggest distribution channel for the biggest brands. It's super worth winning. Be sure that you have all the traffic on Amazon possible. Win on your most important keywords, win on your most important category keywords ever before you think of exploring anything outside of the platform, because 65% of your traffic is going to start right there. Now, later on, if you want to go worry about the 45%, and by the time you're ready to worry about it, it'll be 30%. But later on, if you want to go worry about that 45% that's out in the bigger market, they're on Google. They're keyword searching on Google without a brand preference. And that's going to be a beast of a market. And you're far better off conversion-wise to stay in Amazon.
All right. Santa is asking, what would be the reason that a scale keyword that was making sales according to the STR and is now in the scale group with an uncapped bid at 640?
Oh, wait. We got to start over. I got to write this one down. I can already tell.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay. And then other times I'm like, wait. And I can't get everything separate. Okay.
I was almost to the end of it too. It's not a long one.
Okay.
So what would be the reason that a scale keyword that was making sales according to the STR and is now in the scale group with an uncapped bid of $6.40 is now not producing any impressions or sales?
Oh, that just hasn't stuck yet. There shouldn't be any trouble with it. Make sure there's no duplicate keyword usage in your campaigns. So make sure that wherever that keyword was before, you've paused it so that it's only in scale. And then make sure that you also would test it. There's another tip on that. First, make sure there's no duplicate. Second, go ahead and test it as broad if you've got it in there as exact. There's no harm in that either. Because I'm telling you, like we keep saying, boy, broad and exact on Amazon are like, 50-50. There's no like any like particular keyword or category that is like always broad, always exact. So sometimes I'm glad you're bringing this up. Another good qualifier. I'm writing this down. There's so many notes to put. So another good, and again, it's all based on instincts. So your other qualifier is if something doesn't work as exact, try it as broad. And that could go across all your keywords everywhere. Because without question, sometimes it looks like an exact match, but it's really not. And sometimes the traffic is still at broad. So if you put it in there, make sure it's not duplicate anywhere else. Give it some time to ramp up, like a week or so. If it still doesn't, then go ahead and set it as a broad match too. And I guarantee one of those will get traction.
All right. And next question is, I've been losing money with Sponsored. How long should I wait to see positive results after implementing your strategies that you've provided now that I've got the right keywords, etc.?
Well, you got to lower the bids. You need to make it work, right? Because this is either you need to lower your bids and make these work, or you've got to get into some listing optimization, because whatever's happening in your sponsored ads is going to happen in the organic rank. This is just, pedal to the metal. So, I mean, essentially, this is just rubber to the road. Like you can't escape whatever's happening right here. Like if your keywords are not converting to targeted sales on targeted keywords, there's a big disconnect between what the shopper is looking for in your product. Right? I mean, they should click and buy. It's Amazon. They do that. You guys see the data. They click and buy pretty regular across all my campaigns, all my categories, all my clients. So if that's not happening, then you have to fix that disconnect. You can lower your bids to make sponsored products manageable. Go ahead and lower your bids until you're at break even. That's what you need to do. You have to break even. But don't let that, allow you to stop there, because it's not like you can just shrug your shoulders and say, sponsored products doesn't work across all my keywords. Essentially, that means that your product doesn't convert across relevant keywords, which means you can't build sales history for that product, which means you can't rank for that product in any capacity on the search engine. Just know that Amazon is a sales game, right? They're comparing sales against sales. I mean, they get 15% cut on everything sold on the engine. They're not messing around. I mean, that algorithm is super clear on what sells and what doesn't on those keywords. And it uses that sales history to, one, give the buyers and the shoppers what they want, to keep their user experience high. That's always the big platform goal. Someone like Amazon and Google is user experience. But on the second hand, they're also trying to make some money there. So if you're not selling on those keywords, they're only going to show products that do. So my advice would be to look at the products that are converting on those keywords, that are ranking in their advertising and organically positioned for sure. Organically for sure. Bestseller for sure. I'd be looking at what those products are doing and how is your product different, and where might you be missing the mark from a sales standpoint on the product page, because you can't really overlook this bit of data that your keywords aren't converting. Now, profitably is another question that has to do with maybe pricing. Now, that's another thing. How far is your ACoS off? 10 to 15%? Not scary. That can totally be optimized. Are you at 2x the ACoS? You're losing tons of money. Then at that point, you need to look at your conversion issues, but you need to look at your margins and your pricing as well. And like we talked about earlier, if you have a really tight margin, you're trying to make this work at 20%, 25%, it's highly unlikely that's going to happen. So you may have a pricing issue, a conversion issue, but you want to address those things early on, because that's going to really impact even if you were to throw money at like Viral Launch, which I love Casey that owns that company. He's Sharp Tool. I mean, he is the sharp guy, not a sharp tool. He has an amazing tool. He's a really sharp guy. There was one sentence that jumbled. Sharp tool. That's funny. He's a sharp tool. No, that's not what I meant. He's a sharp guy with a really great tool. So yeah, he's the sharpest tool in the shed. I like that guy. Anyway, so he is. He's a cool guy. But anyway, if you're going to do like a Viral Launch strategy where you go buy a bunch of traffic and you push it out, man, you got to make sure that product page converts. And sponsored products is eye to eye. It is showing you right there what's happening. If those main keywords are not converting, it's highly unlikely that other traffic will convert. And then that's the problem. So just think about listing optimization, think about pricing optimization, think about lowering the bids if you're only in like losing money by 10 to 15%.
All right. Caroline is asking, I have sales on low volume keywords with modifiers, but they are getting poor traffic and I don't convert on my broader keywords. What do you suggest?
Okay, one more time on that. So go one more time. Low sales on shop.
I have sales on low volume keywords with modifiers.
Nice.
Okay. But they're getting poor traffic and I don't convert on my broader keywords. What do you suggest?
Well, the good news is that you're converting on the low traffic ones. So that means that when people are looking for your specific product, they buy. But when people are looking for something up in the funnel more, they don't. And that can always just be that buyer preference. Like we talked about buyer preference earlier when it comes to browse keywords. So let's go here. We talk about Levi's and women's jeans. So women's jeans, the most popular women's jeans are skinny jeans. You know, I saw it in the search volume. We saw it in the keyword tool. So we know that skinny jeans are the most popular style after, so we know someone goes jeans, they go women's or men's. If they go women's, the majority of women on Amazon at least are looking for skinnies. So if I have a skinny jean, I can advertise on women's jeans and probably scoop up a lot of that traffic. Now, if I have a bootcut jean or a high-waisted jean or a mom jean or a black jean, maybe not. You know what I mean? Women's jeans predominantly are skinnies. So you may have a preference in that broad keyword that is they're looking for something that's not your product, right? Like they're looking for something that's not your product, but is there a way for you to go look at not just your search terms, but at like the organic ranked products for that broad keyword? And can you find ways to put negatives in? Like, is there some qualification? Let's go into another product with modifiers. So let's talk about spaghetti sauce. People love spaghetti sauce, right? They buy it on Amazon for sure. It's in grocery. So people will there's 3 types of spaghetti sauce people like, right? So people like it chunky, people like it smooth, and people like it spicy, right? But those 3 people don't overlap. So anytime you're advertising something like spaghetti sauce, you can be certain that if they go to a smooth brand, all your chunky buyers are gone. They're going to click and bounce. They don't want that chunky sauce. They want chunky. They don't want smooth sauce. And you're going to be certain for double sure if you put spaghetti sauce in and they go to the garlic variety, they're out of there. They don't like onions and garlic. They're gone, right? They're going to look for a mild flavor. So this is why Amazon's really awesome if you have parent-child ASINs, because as long as they get to the spaghetti sauce page and they see a chunky and a smooth and a spicy variety, they'll self-select, which is just gold. It's so amazing, right? It makes it so much easier to sell stuff. So you can kind of capitalize. So back to your product, there's a possibility that your buyer on the broad keyword is falling in these categories. Go do some research, go look at the keyword data again, go look at what's ranked organically, go look at the bestseller. And then if you have a product that you're like, yeah, these are not similar to mine, you know what I mean? Let's go back to it again. Maybe you have a certain type of fabric and maybe they like waterproof. Maybe you have a certain type of this and they like it with pockets. Or maybe you have a certain type of this and they want it with, some other feature that your product doesn't include. I would say at this point, you need to be thinking about negatives, single word negatives that might pull out that buyer preference on your broad keywords, right? Might filter them, right? Now, not every product's going to work that way, but a lot of products will. So if you can kind of do your own research in terms of how the shopper goes to the path to purchase, what their preferences are, and put single negatives in to filter it out, then you can do really well with it. I wouldn't just chuck the browse keywords as not doing it for you, because your targeted keywords are converting, which means when someone has a preference for your product, they buy your product. that's a great bit of information to have. Take that to the bank. When someone prefers your type of product and they search for it, they buy. So that's a huge win. Put a win up in the win column, right? Put a line up in the win column. But when you're looking at that, I would see if you could filter those browse keywords with some single keyword modifiers, negatives at the campaign level that take out, if it were spaghetti sauce, you get rid of the chunky, negative spicy, negative garlic, negative, you know what I mean? So try to get some of that going on and see if it filters it down some.
All right. When switching around keywords from scale to buy or the other way around, how do you do it? Do you pause the keyword in the old ad group or do you archive it?
I just pause it. I don't really archive anything. I just pause it. I only archive if it's just absolute trash, which means I've come into a campaign. And when I say trash, I don't mean trash like in a negative way. I mean trash like throw it in the wastebasket. I use that word sometimes when people stare at me. Like I've actually come into like copy meetings in big agencies and said, God, that copy's trash. And everyone just stares at me. And I mean like, friggin' crumble it up. It's first draft, throw it in the trash, right? I don't mean it's like bad. But if it's something in a campaign where there's just a lot of junk in there, like a lot of keywords that are dead, no impressions, no clicks, I would go ahead and hit I would hit pause on those, or I would hit archive if they've got zero action. And what I mean on that is if I'm coming into someone's campaigns that need a heavy duty cleanup, like whatever they've done is just madness, right? They've put in like 700 keywords and all different variations and all with a single keyword bid. And I get into that and I go, dude, this is nuts. I go to everything with zero action over the lifetime and I just archive it. Like, I don't even want to look at it again, right? Like, what is this stuff? It hasn't done anything. There's no sales history. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Get it out of my way. So from a minimalist perspective, I'm going to archive stuff that's really dead weight. And I mean dead. It has done nothing. But if it's done a few sales and it's had some performance, but it's high A cost, or one sale and high A cost, or 10 clicks and no sales, normally I'm just pausing those, just making sure they're out of my way. And then I only look at enabled keywords as I go through the view again. But normally I just pause the stuff that's not doing well. And I only archive if there's a whole bunch of keywords in a campaign that really shouldn't be there.
Okay, and Diana would like some clarification. Is break-even A cost the same as max CPA?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So in my STR, I see many ASINs that are my own products. With those ASINs, some are converting to sale and others have no sales, but they're spending money. I assume this is happening because I use the same seed keywords for different products in different campaigns. They're very similar, but they have different features. Is that correct?
Yeah, go one more time with that.
Okay, this is a question we've already done, but she's rephrased it. So I think the answer wasn't quite on point with what she was looking for.
Okay, yeah, that happens for sure.
Yeah, in my STR, I see many ASINs that are my own products. With those ASINs, some are converting to sales and others have no sales, but they're spending money. I assume that this is happening because I use the same keywords for different products in different campaigns. They're very similar, but they have different features.
Well, I mean, if you want to clean those up, there's no harm in it. That's why I like to go after the best selling product, right? And kind of drive that home with those keywords, because you are getting into confusing territory for optimization. And again, this is my business. So if I'm confused, well, I pay for it in time and hours and money. So if I'm confused in a given day, I do this for work. So it's my job, right? So anytime I'm confused, it's just a hard day for me. It's a hard day on the budget. It's a hard day on my brain. It's just a hard day. So I avoid confusion wherever possible. And on that, you set yourself up for confusion to have like these multiple campaigns running the same keywords. But I know you might have to, because we've discussed that you have like multiple parent ASINs and they're not able to self-select on one child page. So if you're doing that, there's no harm in putting the other variations, single keywords, as negatives. So for example, if it's hard, but if they can't go to the same page anyway, and you're trying to filter the traffic. So let's just say I have one page. I'm just going to assume this is your campaign structure. Again, it's a little confusing, but let's just say I have a parent ASIN and it's my skinny jeans. And then I have a separate parent ASIN that's my bootcut jeans. And I'm running to both of those ASINs. I'm going ahead and I have two campaigns running, and I'm running women's jeans to both the bootcut and the skinny in separate campaigns, right? So let's just say I'm doing that. So if that were the case, then you could possibly in the bootcut campaign do a negative on skinny, and then you could do a negative on, vice versa. So each campaign could have a negative of that single feature, skinny or bootcut, to kind of filter that traffic out. But then you would be trusting that small amount of data you're seeing at the ASIN level is not resulting in brand halo sales. I mean, I think it's kind of a good idea that they've gone to both of your product pages and they're actually searching your brand and they're looking at it. So it'd have to be a pretty big loss. Like I'd have to be losing a ton of money to want to do that. So I'd have to look at the overall big picture and I'd have to say, yeah, I'm losing hundreds of bucks on this. If I'm losing like $2 here and there, I'm certainly not going to go filter out traffic going from my different product pages. But that is a confusing situation and one that I wouldn't have a lot of, I wouldn't have an answer for there.
Okay, next one. How is the BSR, the best-selling rank, calculated? For some products, I'm ranked significantly better than my competition, but I see through Helium X-Ray that competing products are ranked below me are actually selling significantly more.
Oh, it has so much to do with the other parts that impact Amazon's rank. So it's not just your sales, it also is your kind of user experience, right? I mean, that's what Google ranks stuff on too, is user experience. So, if someone has like, a lot of the things in Amazon's badges are about user experience, about sessions, like the number of visitors that come to that page in relation to all the visits in the category. So say in your subcategory, there's so many visits across all products, but your product gets more sessions than all of them combined, or all, you're in like the top, 80% of sessions in the category. That's definitely a popularity weight. So you have a very popular product just based on sessions and views and people coming through there. Sales is a big one. Obviously, it's going to be the biggest one. But sales never, with Amazon, sales is never more important than your seller rating, which we just assume in this class that you have a great seller rating. But your seller rating is also impacts all sorts of rank. And that just means like, your delivery stuff and your reviews and your overall satisfaction and just, all the things that go into having a strong seller rating will also impact bestseller rank. So strong seller rating plus strong sales plus strong sessions is a win-win-win. But most of the time, products that are good selling products have strong seller ratings because that's how they got there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of how, you just kind of assume you have a strong seller rating or your competitors do. But in some categories, it's not true. Sometimes they don't have as strong a seller rating as you do, both based on their reviews and their history. And even if they have more sales, they may not be considered more popular than you or a better fit for the shopper than you.
All right. Just some clarification here. When you say 25 to 50% over ACoS keywords should be paused, this rule applies to scale ad group only, or does it apply to the browse keywords ad group as well? But for a new product or in general, keywords in browse ad group have much higher ACoS, and that means we should pause those keywords too and stop mining from these keywords. I think they just need some clarification.
Well, if they have a lot of sales, you want to lower the bids. Right? So if they're driving orders, you want to lower the bids. The only time you want to pause a keyword is when it's not producing anything. It's getting 0 sales. It's getting less than 3 sales. It's got 1 sale and it's tremendously high ACoS. When a keyword only produces 1 order with an uncapped bid, it's not very interesting. So the question would just be like, how many orders? If it has any significant orders over 3, I'm going to suggest lowering your bids. And if the orders are significantly higher than 3, like it's in your top 80%, I'm going to suggest, separating it out and really lowering the bids very gently, but continuing to lower to break even. So when you're thinking about pausing versus bid optimizing, it has everything to do with the number of sales. Anything that drives sales at volume should be bid optimized. Anything that is driving 1 or 2 orders or 0 orders with crazy high ACoS or high CPCs, just go ahead and pause that because it's fairly useless. It's not really building your sales history, because if it's getting that kind of cost or that kind of poor conversion, it's not really benefiting the campaigns in any way. So the only time you would lower a bid and keep something is if it benefits you for sales history, it benefits you for sales visibility. If the keyword doesn't perform at all, there's no benefit to keeping it. Melissa? Oh my gosh. Did that bridge drop her?
I'm here. Nope, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm here.
Oh my gosh, you scared me. I just thought, oh my gosh, what's going on with the bridge today? Okay.
I took a drink, so I paused. I don't
No worries. No worries.
Okay, so press back. Fred has his first question here. I have many products that are not variations, but they share the same seed keywords. Is it okay to use one match type to drive traffic to one ASIN in a campaign, and then in another campaign, use a different match type to drive traffic to another ASIN?
Oh, there's no reason for that. One more time again, he's got the different product variations. He's got to drive duplicate keywords.
He said it's not a variation, but they share similar keywords. He has many products that are not variations, but they share similar seed keywords. They share the same seed keywords.
Yeah, there's no benefit to separating match types out across the different products. You could test that, but whichever one sells best in advertising, you should allot a higher bid to, and then tier your bidding. Maybe I wouldn't change match types. I would just tier the bids. That would be the best way I would do that.
Okay.
You could test it though, because that's what advertising is about, right? We're all about practicality here. We're all about being pragmatic. Nothing is a given until we get the data. Nothing. So this is tech, right? This is tech 101. It's all about testing. So you need to go lean. You need to test. You need to figure out what works. So with that being the strategy, test it. See if it works for you. In my experience, in my understanding of algorithms, I wouldn't understand the benefit of separating your match types across multiple products. I would be putting all the same match types across all products since they're on different parent ASINs. And then I would be lowering my bid and tiering it so that my budget went to the stuff that sells best and pushes velocity on my bestseller. Okay, Melissa. Oh my gosh. I heard this little beep beep. She's got to be there. It's just not going to happen to me. Okay, let me see if I can find a question here. I don't know why the bridge has never done this. It's so strange. Hopefully she just pops right back in. There she is. Melissa, what happened to you?
I've never had this issue. I don't know. It goes static and then it completely drops me.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
What's going on with this?
It's something with our host. And we have a killer conference bridge. It's PGI. So they're just probably having some technical issues today, like everyone does. I would just, chalk this one up to nothingness because we've done 7 classes and 6 hours of Q&A a week without an issue. So I'm just going to say that PGI. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've used this bridge for 2 years and never had this issue.
Exactly. So I'm just going to say PGI is having a tough day. So we're not going to worry about this unless it happens again. Okay.
Okay. It looks like, okay, next question here. I've got a question from Sonora.
Okay.
Can you retest a keyword that had an ACOS? Let's see here. Can you retest a keyword that had an ACOS, but after you reach the top positions in search, maybe this time they can perform better? So it looks like they probably had a poor ACOS, but you reach the top positions and maybe it'll perform better this time. They're talking about retesting keywords that you already have data on.
Yeah, you can always retest with a lower bid. That's going to be the thing. If it had a crazy ACOS, I don't know if I would go bidding for rank again, because even in the other positions, if it was not so great, I would think you'd want to lower the bid unless you have some other factor that might improve the conversion rate. But you definitely can bring keywords back with capped CPCs and do well with them.
Okay. Julie's got a question here. My target ACOS per campaign is based on the CPA and the sales price that I've calculated. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. You have all your cost of goods sold, all your Amazon fees. You know what dollar amount you're going to break even at, and then you're going to make sure your ACOS hits that percentage point.
But the click-to-sale ratio is per keyword, correct?
Yes, that just helps you gauge how many clicks it takes you to get a sale. It's just a nice metric, click-to-sale, because it gives you something that's a little more meaningful than conversion. Conversion is the most meaningful. But unless you're like super into like thinking in percentages and doing algebra and, like on the fly. The nice thing about click to sale is it's an easy defined metric, right? So you're coming in and you're saying, okay, I get paid $3.50 a click, and then it makes more sense. And I took 4 clicks to get a sale. So to me, it's just like an easy math metric, and the click to sale ratio just shows you the power of how many clicks it takes. And it really allows you to kind of attribute a dollar amount to the click data versus trying to go always off percentages. It's so easy in tech and advertising and anything, SEO, any of these internet, and any internet strategy. It's very easy to get hyper focused on the data. And then you start looking at percentages and math, and it gets crazy, when it's so much better to kind of focus on sales, to step yourself back and have a sales outlook. So you just kind of want to say, okay, it takes me 4 clicks to get a sale. How many clicks can I buy? How many sales can I convert? So I just think the click sale ratio is just a simple way for you to understand the metrics without having to constantly relate it back to math. At least it is for me.
It says, I have found keywords out of messy campaigns with multiple products that may not work well in a single campaign. Is this true? It is just happening to me after I started restructuring my campaigns, which by the end is going to be the right thing to do.
One more time on that.
Yeah, let's see here. Inora's saying, and this might just be feedback here, I have found that keywords out of a messy campaign with multiple products may not work well in a single campaign.
That's so true. Absolutely true. If you have multiple products going from, that was a mess for me too. That's a great question. I've only seen that a couple times in my audit history, but I've had this, oh my gosh, yes, it's a mess. You definitely need to be very cautious. And that's where you're going to want to use that filter that we covered about an hour ago, where you're looking at the relevance. You're being a human, right? This is not, you're not a computer. The advantage here is that you are a human with the capacity to figure out how to sell stuff. And you're going to look at those relevance factors, right? So is that keyword relevant? Does it really make sense? Like, is it going to fit is it going to describe my product, right? Is it a good feature and benefit? Is it a keyword that is mid-tail, that's like women's versus just jeans? Ask yourself these questions before you just load those up into scale. I had a client that came to me for an audit, and we actually overlooked the fact that he had like 30 ASINs in this one group. It was a funny thing. It was like somewhere in the data, this just didn't come across my desk. Like I just missed it, like a big slap in the side of the head. And I started segmenting his keywords. And only later, after testing, did I realize that I thought he had all variations, and I can even say what it was. It's a workout glove. And I thought he had all variations of a single workout glove, right? Like all these colors, right? I just thought it was like pink and blue and green, workout gloves, women's and men's. But then it ends up that they were workout gloves designed for different applications. You know what I mean? Some are for CrossFit and some are for, other activities. And I was like, oh my gosh, because like the CrossFit gloves did not convert on the workout gloves. And the workout gloves that were one material did not convert on other workout searches. So without question, I got hit on that one. So if you have a whole bunch of ASINs and that product is not the same, the keywords that have been mined are a mess. You have to read them and you have to think about the shopper intent. And you should know that even something as subtle as workout gloves that have multiple applications, it's search. The buyer wants the ones for CrossFit. The buyer wants the ones for kettlebells. The buyer wants the one for a light workout. They're not looking for all in the same thing. And that really kind of nailed me for conversion. So women's and men's as well, color-wise, right? Like women and men like different colors and they have different preferences. So without question, you want to be sure that you're looking at those keywords and filtering them based on relevance, because it will impact the entire sales funnel and the sales history and the quality of the keywords.
All right, Diana got another question here. She says, if I have no sales history and I set my keyword on the browse ad group and sets the bid and the day, it sets the bid. So she's got her keyword in the browse ad group, she sets the bid, and the day after she has, you might want to write this down, I got numbers. She has 9,400 impressions, 9,400 impressions, 60 clicks, and a 400 ACoS. Should I pause it right away, or should I wait at least 3 days for the algorithm to take action?
No. 400 ACoS is crazy. You could wait days if it were 65%, 50%, 45%, depending on what your target is, 35%. But no, 400% is done. Those 60 clicks are hard. There's no way those are going to tip over profitably at that current bid. Because even had one sale. I mean, if it has 1 sale, 2 sales, I think it's unlikely it's going to attribute on 60 clicks. It's going to need to attribute, a lot of sales. Like, so let's just say it's got to maybe convert at least 10 to 15 sales. So, I mean, if you're not seeing sales yet and it's at 400, I mean, you should be seeing a lot of sales on that. So I would say it's even if it's not attribution. I know what you mean by the 5-day window, but 400% is fairly unusual because it seems like some sales have tipped to get that ACOS number. So yeah, I would say that's a no-go. I'd pause it. And Melissa, I'm going to go ahead and interject here because this is awesome. Yeah. So hello, Rob made a point that he would love to see some process maps and flowcharts. And I'm actually working on flowcharts with our designer, and we actually have started on them several weeks ago, and we're still fine tuning them. So I am working on flowcharts, visuals, right? Like just kind of like flowcharts and different like system diagrams to show you how everything works. And I thought that'd be the best way to convey this too after all my questions. So if you guys could give me feedback for the next 5 minutes, I would super appreciate if you guys could give me feedback on what type of things you'd like to see in a chart, like in a visual diagram, right? What kind of visual diagrams do you want to see? Give it to me now so I can write it down because we're working on those. I already know which ones I have to give you, like, your phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. That was where I knew I had to do a flow chart, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And then I had to do some stuff around keyword moving. So those two are a given for me. But if you guys have other questions, if you have other things that you would love to see a flow chart for, I know Rob, Melissa, I can't see his full question because I'm in the admin, but I don't have the drop down. I'd love to hear. I would love to hear what anyone would want to see in a flow chart, in a visual, and we will create those as long as they're relevant for the whole class because I'm already working on them. So it'd be great to knock out quite a few.
Yep. And I've got actually 2 others plus Rob's that are requesting some different resources that have some ideas for that. So okay. I've got those for you. I was just going to give them to you after class rather than read them out to everyone.
Yeah, let's read them to everyone. So
have all those.
Let's read them to everyone so everyone can kind of contribute. Like, yeah, I would use that, or yeah, I would see that, or actually, I'd like to see this too. Because of course, I'm just shooting blind. I'm an advanced advertiser, and I'm showing all you guys how to do this. But at the same time, like I'm shooting blind with you guys. If I had taught this 10 times, it would be not valuable. Just so you know, because everyone would, you know what I mean. It wouldn't be like advanced advertising. It would be like everybody's advertising, which is not a big deal. But that's not what this class is. Since I don't, since by no means do I produce courses as my full-time job, I have an agency for my full-time job. There's so much I could use from you guys in terms of feedback. Again, I did work for Jason on the agency side, and that's how he got me in to do this class. It wasn't the other way around where I had a course and then Jason thought we should sell it. It was more like I did amazing work and Jason wanted to tell you guys how I did it. So I'm with you guys on this. I've taught some stuff over the years. I've spoke over the years. I'm no newbie to teaching, but I am fairly new to be teaching this exact content to you guys at your current skill level. So I would love to know what you need, please.
Okay, so it looks like calculations is going to be a big one. They want the STR report steps, so the steps that you take with the STR report.
And the first one of those is already in the members area. Melissa, did Andy confirm on that?
I haven't seen it here. Hold on just a second.
It's in there today, though. It's done. I just have to get the better version of it because we had some image blurring issues that I just caught as I sent the PDF this morning. But the designer will fix those, but I won't have it till evening. So I just posted it as is, so you'd have the steps.
Andy says that it is the STR PDF that you posted is in the resources members area. All these are being posted in the same resources members area when you log into your Amazing account and then click on this class. You should be able to scroll down just a little bit on that first page, and everything should be there under the tab. I believe it says resources.
Okay, great.
All
so
that should be listed within there.
Yeah, so please excuse the blurry on the screenshots. They're not tragic, but they're going to be a little bit better as I re-upload that one. But it's in there now so that you can get started. It's certainly not blurry enough where you can't do it. So it's not the quality that I normally like to get back from the designer, but it was good enough where I thought just get started and I'll clean it up later with her. So let me go back to flowcharts. So what's Rob's request for a flowchart?
Okay, so Rob's request for a flowchart, this is what he's saying. So Cherie, I really think that a few flowcharts would answer a high % of the questions, especially
Agreed.
for those of us who are very visual.
Agreed.
Example, does the keyword have impressions? Yes. Does it have more than 1,000 impressions? Yes. Does it have clicks? Yes. Does it have sales? No, move it to this spot. Does it have sales? Yes, move it to this spot. So something that they can follow, it sounds like, so they can use their specific examples within their campaigns and their STR.
Okay. I can totally do that for sure.
Yep. So let's see here. And then, so calculations is a big one. STR report steps, keywords ranking calculation with samples. They all want samples.
Keyword.
Go back up to the other two.
I got to get clear on that. What do you mean by keyword ranking calculations?
That's Smile. So Smile, if you want to clarify that, Smile says word for word, keywords ranking calculation. Samples.
What does that mean? Samples of what? Samples of what? Give me an example.
Smile will give us an example. They're always pretty good about that. Let's see here. Oh, he says maybe do a free survey monkey poll for diagrams. Keyword bids, keyword pause, keyword move, keyword ACOS. See here. Another one is how you move the keywords to the different brand browse shop and all that, and bidding after 30 days.
Okay. I have that in the works. That's where it started at, for sure. Okay. So awesome. Just so you want to see phase 1, phase 2, and how this process goes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I started on. That's why it started. Okay.
Yeah, so the flow chart of your actions, analysis, and decisions and reactions all the way to phase 3. That's what they're looking for. And that one was earlier submitted by support. So support, we did get that. We can get those on there for you. Let's see here. And if you guys have other suggestions that you want to add, just put the word flow chart in front of it, and then I'll know where to categorize that, get that information to Cherie. So if you want to do that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And Melissa, will you go ahead and put that in a separate sheet and share it with me in the showdown so I have it? Because I want to have this as I start to create these. Yeah. I love that. Thank you guys so much for that. I really wanted to stop class to ask that question. We can get back to the regular questions now. Calculations are here, but they're not simple, Julie. So you want calculations. So Julie's probably talking about calculations on max CP, max, and we put some of this in the search term guide you have today, but you want to have calculations on target ACOS, max CPC, max CPA. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, and we can wait for her to answer that, and I'll just add that feedback there.
Yeah, just Julie, post any more like formulas you're looking for, because I think the majority of them are up, but if you want them in one place, that could be another good cheat sheet, right? Like I think cheat sheets are what people need, and the visual guides, I would agree, like almost like quick starts, just because that's what's been in my mind is click starts. Okay.
Here we go.
Rob's got some good stuff there. Okay.
Yep, I'm looking here. Okay, I think you covered this, but you gave examples, but graphics with this darn thing. The platform that we use, guys, we have to drag down if you guys type a lot. So I end up having to copy paste it over to a spreadsheet just so I can read the whole thing. Otherwise, when it refreshes,
yeah, we only see 2 lines. Just so you guys know, when we're reading questions, we see the first 2 lines. So if any of you guys feel like you're lost on the trail, like what? Can you guys only read 2 sentences? The answer is yes. Like, yes, we're reading 2 sentences of your 50. Yes. So when you put in 50 sentences, it takes Melissa time to move all those sentences to see them. And all I can see are 2. Like, hello, yes, I read 2 sentences. Got half your question.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've covered this, but you gave examples of graphics with exact real life phase 1, so we can determine, okay, here's the Helium report.
Okay.
This is exactly how many keywords were put in each ad group.
Okay.
In shop, browse, buy, and which match type.
Now remember, my match types are simply set based on where my search volume is at in the Helium 10 tool. So it varies by keyword, but I can definitely give you some examples of that.
This one says, flowchart, conditions that have to be met to move keywords from one ad group to another when in the optimizing phase.
Yeah, I think that's key. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And I'm just getting all of these down.
Great. Okay, I think that we've got it. So we will go ahead and use that. And Rob, thanks for kicking that thread off, because I've been working on it. And so it helps me to get what you guys want versus create something. And then you're like, well, that was not what I wanted. And then Rob had one more here about a cheat sheet with summaries of thresholds and metrics. Yeah. Okay, threshold were volume under X amount. Okay. Thresholds for single ad groups. There is a test that you can do for those single ad groups to see what's going to work. And it's really just, it's like criteria 1 and then criteria 2. And I can kind of show you that. Criteria 1 is in the STR and orders. And then criteria 2 is if that keyword has broad match potential. Okay, I've got my notes.
Have more ideas as we finish up the class here over the next, half hour or so. Just put flowchart in front of it. I'll copy paste it over. I'll make sure that it's in a list for Cherie in a sheet that she sees. So we'll make sure that she gets all of those.
And I would agree doing that flowchart on competitors and brands is essential, because I do treat competitors, category, and brand differently. And I think that's important to not just say, but to show you guys how I do that.
Definitely. Awesome. Okay, so we've got a few questions here, and I think we can kind of wrap up with these last.
Good, because I have a hard stop at 2:30 today, only because I have a meeting at 3 that I have to be on. But I do have a 2:30 hard stop, and I should prepare for my next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Do color modifiers convert particularly well? I can't get mine to rank, and I did not expect that.
Well, they convert with a lot of search volume. Color modifiers don't work if no one searches for them. So unless people like a certain color and it's like a preference, going back to tomato sauce or spaghetti sauce, people will search for chunky versus smooth versus spicy, guaranteed 30, 30, 30. People will search for those things. But in colors, some things have a color modifier because that's the first thing people buy. It's a driving decision maker. So we go to decor. Anything in decor is going to be very focused on color. And some things in apparel, but other things people actually go to look at. They kind of look for the style and they're not as focused on the color. So maybe they want something that's just sassy and hip with a great look to it. And they're not saying it needs to be, gray, white, blue, green. It depends on how they search. If you didn't see a lot of modified color searches, huge, high demand, there's a good likelihood that people aren't searching enough for those colors for it to really work.
Right. Do we leave the keyword in shop after we create it in a single broad and phrase in phase 2?
Well, if you had it in shop as broader phrase, no. It'd be paused. So if you move it to a broad single, the broad gets paused. If it's a phrase single, the phrase gets paused. If you have it as exact match, at that point it's converting. So it's probably going to scale anyway. So no, but definitely your broad and phrase, once you set those single ad groups up, it pauses it in shop.
All right. If you aim for position 3 instead of position 1 to build up sales history as you taught on Tuesday, do you stay in phase 1 for longer until you get to position 1, or do you still progress to phase 2 after 30 days?
I think you want to progress. You definitely want to continue to increase your rank because it's going to be more sales. But I do think you want to build that sales history. So give it the few weeks, 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks to build that history and really hold that top of search position where you get more sales, and then start to incrementally increase your bid to take the last 2 spots. The thing I would say is challenging that I have found in this class specifically is when someone has very little sales history. Remember, a lot of you guys have newer products, which is not, that's not, the thing that, again, I'm normally focused on scaling, right? So we're talking about new products. So when we're talking about new products, the one thing I've said is, okay, you don't have sales history. So for some reason you're trying to push to 1, but the history just isn't there to get you to go. Now, if you have history, you should go straight to 1. But yeah, I would let it stay there for a few weeks or a month and then continue to increase it. So you get that sales history so that you can win based on sales performance, not just trying to buy that spot.
Right. And just a heads up, this is some feedback from one of the other members here. Just a heads up, it says, after testing and testing, moving categories is very traumatic. Make sure it has a strong logical basis because it rips up the tracks that have been laid to get there in search. So someone tried that moving categories and it did not go well.
It didn't go well for me.
The same result.
I've only tried it once, which to me is not like conclusive data, but the one time I tried it, it was not good.
All right. About conversion, if they clicked, that means reviews and price is not an issue. What are your thoughts?
One more time on that?
If a customer clicks, that means that the reviews that they have and the price is not an issue, correct? What are your thoughts? That's what they're thinking.
Well, if the customer clicks, no. The customer clicks, they haven't seen your reviews. They haven't seen anything. They saw your price vaguely. They probably clicked based on your picture and your title. Maybe price. but they haven't seen your reviews and they haven't seen your product description and they haven't seen anything on the page. So no, they haven't been sold. If they click, so here it is. If you know you've matched your keyword to describe your product, which we took 4 weeks to cover that. So I know you've done that. So your keyword matches your product. Just because they click, it's because your title matches the keyword, right? I mean, so I have skinny jeans. Someone searches for skinny jeans. My title says skinny jeans. My picture is a pair of skinny jeans. The price is somewhere, if they're looking at price, it's somewhere in the range they're looking. They're going to click on that. Now, price is an issue if you can't get the ACoS right. Like if your price is too low to pay the ad money, price is not an issue competitively for sales. It is. It's a whole friggin' game in itself. Pricing is a whole category. But from a strictly advertising standpoint, low price is a problem because you need to pay for your product, your manufacturing, your Amazon fees, and your advertising expense. So pricing too low doesn't give you the margin to afford advertising no matter how well it performs, right? So pricing is a conversion issue if your margins are too low to pay for traffic in your category. If your margins are too low to buy traffic at break even in your category, that's problematic for you, right? So I would definitely stay clear of that. Now, if we go to the second category, which is conversion on page, someone has put the keyword in, they've seen your title, they've seen the image. Something on that page did not sell them if they bounced. If they left the page without making a purchase, and that's happening across multiple keywords, they were not sold on buying your product. They were not sold by the reviews. They were not sold by the product images. They were not sold by the description. Something on that page allowed them to go reverse out of there and not make a purchase. So just because they clicked, it means nothing. If they clicked, it means that the keyword and the title and the image were relevant enough to get them to the page, but the page failed to sell them a product. You know, your page is a sales tool. And if it fails to sell them the product, then it's either not persuasive enough, it's not detailed enough, it's missing some crucial bit of information. It could be reviews, but it's missing the crucial information you need to convert that sale. It is always about the landing page, right? The keywords don't make the sales. The landing page does. So the keywords just simply bring you the right customers at the right time looking. And then it's your product page that sells those customers, right? Nothing to do with your keywords. It's your product page itself that actually closes the deal for you.
All right. So talking about aiming at best sellers. If a product is in the wrong subcategory but has some features and benefits shared by the other products in that existing subcategory, would you use the best sellers from the wrong subcategory when targeting the best sellers, or can you use the best sellers from the right subcategory, or should you use both, since both subcategories share some features and benefits?
Well, you want the products that have, if you're pulling this for keyword density and you're pulling it for like seed keyword ideas, your first 10 competitors need to have similar features and benefits. No matter where you pull them, they need high sales, which is why the bestseller rank is a great place to pull them. But the most important thing is that they have similar features and benefits to you, because otherwise their keywords won't be relevant to you. Going back to that weightlifting glove example I gave you earlier, I could go into the best-selling weightlifting gloves, and some are for CrossFit and some are for like women's, gentle baby weightlifting gloves, and some are for kettlebells. I have to make sure I'm picking those accordingly, because the keywords are going to define my shop cycle. They're going to define the modifiers that work. Same with jeans, right? If I'm selling skinny jeans, I got to make sure I'm finding products with similar features and benefits that are skinny, so that when I peel the keywords off those high converting pages that we know sell a lot, I'm actually getting keywords that relate to my product, and I'm not getting irrelevant keywords that will cost me money. So yes, I would suggest pulling them out of both bestseller categories. There's no harm in that, just as long as both of them have a good high bestseller rank and both of them have good sales velocity.
All right, go back over here. Okay, if I go for my browse keyword instead of my shop keyword, as you advised earlier, should I switch it around and bid higher in my browse than in my shop? So instead, bid highest on brand and then browse and then shop.
You could test it that way, because like I said, with bids, they're not set in tiers anyway. You can start in tiers for bidding. But once you actually start to move positions and get into the real market and start pushing for rank, those really beautifully tiered bids you're doing are going to get a little butchered because you're going to be increasing them wherever you got to increase them to get more rank. So yeah, you can absolutely flip those bids out. The key with bidding in the ad group level across all keywords in that group is to get the bid to a place where you can break even but get as much rank as possible. First position is ideal, but we don't have to always be ideal. You just want to rank on those keywords as much as you can for the most that you can, afford in your bid.
Okay. M. Weber's asking, so skinny jeans gets moved from shop on phase 1 single to single buy on phase 2, or would we have them in both shop and buy?
Well, if they're going into buy, then they're not profitable, so they'd be gone out of shop. They have to have a capped keyword bid. If they're moving into buy, that means that keyword is not profitable at any kind of uncapped bid. You need to set the bid on that keyword because it loses money if you uncap it, which means if you put a bid that's higher than you can afford on the CPC, normally the CPC comes lower. So that's a good strategy. It's 30%. You can say, I'm going to bid 6, I'm going to pay 2. I like that. I'm beating my competitors, but I'm not beating my bank. If for some reason the keyword has a CPC above what you can pay based on your thresholds, then you have to put a lower bid on that keyword and buy to kind of cap that spend. And when you start to do that, you wouldn't be having it in duplicate groups at all. You'd be removing it from shop because it didn't work. In any kind of testing, it didn't perform at a target ACoS that can be scaled. And then once it heads over to buy, it's simply there to build sales history. I mean, once you have to lower the bid, it's tricky to continue to get a lot of traffic on it. You can't really rank on it, and you'll get some traffic, and it's still valuable. But the big wins are going to be the keywords that will actually survive with the higher bids and higher ranking.
All right. Are you working in bulk uploads for most of your house cleaning, pausing, etc., rather than working in the campaign manager?
We don't just rely on the file once a month. So once a month, I'll pull a bulk download, and we'll kind of get into that in the reporting and optimization phase. We have 4 full weeks of that as well. So when we get into reporting and optimization, we'll cover bulk uploads and downloads. But just know that I don't rely on that report to manage the campaigns. I really go into the campaign manager several times a week and do it by hand. It's really essential that you're in that campaign manager on a regular basis making those changes. So I would not rely on a monthly bulk upload to determine what's wasting money, because every day is more wasted money. Like when we were talking earlier about that awesome example of 60 clicks and a 400% ACoS. I mean, kill that guy right away. Killer keywords, he's gone, right? I mean, 60 clicks, that's a lot of your ad budget. So cutting those things off as soon as they start to tip, like, that's not a good CPC, not a good conversion, not a good ACoS, no sales. Those kinds of signals, the earlier you go ahead and cap them and pause them and get rid of them, the sooner you save yourself tons of money and put it on the stuff that matters. So doing it manually in the campaign manager is essential just to be fiscally sound. It's no different than having anything else. Like you have systems and checks for anything financial, and advertising is a highly financial investment. And so it's, highly financially driven market. So based on that, as it's a business investment and an expense, you want to track it as closely as possible and eliminate waste just to be a good steward of the money. So a couple times in the campaign manager every single week, just to make sure I'm seeing everything and I'm shutting down anything that's bleeding. And then I do a deep dive. When we get into optimization, we'll cover it. I do a deep dive at the keyword level every 30 days to really optimize my cost, right? Totally different strategy, but it is part of optimization.
Right, back here. Okay, clarification, please. I can't add single negatives because the broader keywords that aren't converting don't have modifiers. They are composed of main keywords and synonyms, examples being women's skinny jeans and women's skinny denim. Does this mean I have a conversion problem?
Well, that's where you have to go in and think like the shopper and go and look at what else is ranked. This is where you've got to do this. You can't, maybe the keywords aren't showing you, because we go back into that funny thing. Okay, we go back to that funny thing where maybe the shopper doesn't define it, right? Doesn't define the modifier. So maybe the shopper is just saying, hey, I want this product, but I'm not being specific enough to say I want skinny or I want bootcut. Or we got the woman who's out there just searching for jeans, And we know through the keyword data and the visual data and the organic ranking and the bestseller ranking that the skinnies are where she's most likely to go. My question for you would be, are there other products that are ranking on these keywords that have different qualifiers or different descriptors or benefits or features that your product does not have? So, is there something going on within the shopper's ideas in their head? Maybe they're just more open, like, oh, I just want this in a cool style. They're not specific on their styling, and they just want to see the different things. You know what I mean? Like purses are a good example of that, right? People go buy purses unless they're looking for like a Louis Vuitton or some kind of weird name brand or Coach or something. You know, when they go into purses, it's almost like the lady's just kind of saying, I don't know, I want something that looks good, I can throw over my shoulder, right? She's not necessarily clear unless it's a brand or a style. So I guess what I would be wondering is, what are the style characteristics? What are the qualifications of things that are already ranked on Amazon high in organic rank for the same keyword, And does it look like yours? Or does it look significantly different than yours? And then there's an issue there that the buyer preference isn't going to work as well. So here's one thing. I could give you a good example of this in an audit once, right? Here's something that I really have seen this in an audit, and I'm going to stay back on my deadline a little bit, Melissa, and go for another 15 minutes. So I'll be fine with that meeting as long as I get there on time. Okay. So the next thing is, if I'm looking at this, so here's a good example. Okay. So I had a guy one time call, and of course I have such a booked roster. I don't take clients that often, but I always like to try to help out, right, if I can. And so this guy called, and he had a dog grooming brush. Right. And so he shows me the brush on Amazon. He was really struggling because he had lost a lot of his market share. And his dog grooming brush was styled. He called it a dog grooming brush, but it was more of like something that would cut out chunks of the dog's hair. You know what I mean? It was more of like a thinner brush. So like if you had like a golden retriever or a poodle or something, you would take this tool, and it was more of like a shedding comb. I think that's really what it was. But he had it listed for years as a dog grooming brush. And he's like, and then all of a sudden, he started losing rank when real dog grooming brushes came into the scene, because this was not a dog grooming brush. I mean, if you're going to just comb your normal dog, you're not trying to take out chunks of its hair. You know what I mean? If you got a little pit bull mix or a stray or something like that, your own kind of dog, I don't know. They don't have hair. I mean, maybe even a German Shepherd, you're not like taking a Doberman, you're not taking out their hair. But if you have a Labrador, you might want to take the shedding tool and drag it through their hair. But I was looking at that, and I was like, well, I think most people would call this a shedding tool, even though it's a brush, and even though it's superior because it gets rid of all his hair. And I remember like having this conversation, he was still puzzled. And when you go look at what was ranked organically on Amazon for this product, they were all brushes. Like you picture brushes, like the kind of thing you would take in your hand and comb through your hair. Like heaven forbid someone tried to sell me a shedding tool to comb my hair, right? Like it was just a brush, you know what I mean? Like here's a handle, here's some comb things, and you just run it through your head. And I noticed that everything ranking had this same kind of thing, right? So what I noticed when I said to him was, I think that people looking for a brush are clicking on this, but then realizing it's a tool that does something different. So what I'm trying to say is, what's already ranked organically, and is it significantly different than yours in some way? Does it have a different kind of material? Does it have a different price? Does it have a different style? And maybe those broad keywords aren't going to work because what you have is a little different. That's all my suggestion would be. And if you go to the search listings though, and this is another good, if you go to those organic listings and the product does look like yours and feels like yours and has the same style and same vibe, then you would be thinking about a conversion issue. People are going to the page, they're clicking, and they're not buying. And at that point, you just haven't sold them yet. You know what I mean? They just aren't sold based on the product description, product price, reviews, something on the page. So before you determine whether you have a sales history on the page or a sales problem on the page, you might want to make sure that shopper is actually looking for the criteria of your product, because it sounds like they are, because when they look for the criteria of your product, like you've said, they're buying it. So when they do describe your product, they're making a purchase, and when they go broader, they're not. So my early instinct on that is that there's some kind of a filter. There's something they're looking for that the product doesn't have, and then they're not making a purchase. But that's just my take.
All right, move on to the next one here.
Laura, you have a good weekend too, Lady Pants. Thank you so much for coming today. Such a good session, you guys. Everyone's had such good questions, and I'm super excited to get all your feedback.
All right, a follow-up question on working in Campaign Manager. What view are you using using date-wise to make decisions?
Super good question. I'm using the date range. So I'll go 5 days back and 30 days. So I'm going to say, I don't know what today's date. Today's the 13th. So if I were pulling my numbers for today, I would go into the Campaign Manager on the 8th of September, and I would go back to August 8th. So I would go August 8th to September 8th. I would look at 30 days. I never go any closer than that. People are always like, again, they start to really split hairs on this stuff. And that's just so crazy. You know what I mean? Like you got to kind of give this a little bit of room to catch up to itself. So, and again, unless you're in like a 400% ACOS, and it's just hit the pause as fast as you can just to save that money. But you go ahead and go 30 days back, giving yourself a 5-day window. So you wouldn't go August 13 to September 13 today, because you got about 5 days where sales attribution is dicey. It's not so far off. You should see 400% ACOS, but it's not so close that like 65 won't improve. So you want to make sure you get a little room, depending on how many sales it's clocked. You know, like one sale can easily be turned into 2 sales with a few more clicks. So you got to give it a little bit of data, a little bit of room. So I go 30 days, 5 days back. So I would be going, you know, from August 8th to September 8th, and I'd be looking at that data. And that's a 30-day window, and I'd be making a lot of decisions there. Now, if it were a keyword, though, that had any significant sales history, like, man, this keyword's worked for me in the past, this keyword drives 80% of my orders, at that point, I'm going to go back and look at it across 90 days. And then I'm going to look at it over the lifetime. I'm going to try to get a sense of what's going on with the keyword. And I'm going to try to do things like filter negatives. I'm going to do something on my 30-day deep dive with a high order keyword. I'm not pausing it. I'm going to go ahead on my deep dive and try to get some negatives in there. I'm going to try to lower my bids. I might peel it out into another group. I'm going to try to salvage that keyword in all sanity. So that is definitely the direction that I would go. If I were managing that, for sure, is I would just be looking at your 30-day, always going back to 90, and then going back to lifetime. If it's a keyword that's significant in terms of your sales volume, do not pause it. Regardless, it can't be paused. And I wouldn't be taking anything with high volume and messing with it at all in the Campaign Manager. It would be reserved for my next deep dive, and I would be editing and optimizing and moving and adjusting it then. So yeah, when you have a high sales volume word, it's really pretty sketchy to start doing crazy stuff with it mid optimization cycle. Your campaign pausing is really just for those like rogue keywords that are like less than 5 orders, don't really matter. They're not, you know, impacting your huge velocity or history, and you can go ahead and pause those down. And Carolina, thank you for coming to class. Thank you so much. So many good questions. Carolina, your questions are awesome. And I would do some more research on your product, like what is ranked organically? What is it that could be different about your product that for some reason we got to filter it down to get some of those searches out?
All right. When 2 of our products share the same keywords, they're 2 different cases for an iPhone. But they're not qualified to be a variation listing according to Amazon listing guidelines. Can we advertise them in the same campaigns? Do you ever advertise multiple similar products in one campaign?
Yes, if they're similar products, you can kind of rotate them as ads, right? You can. You're not going to get the same kind of data, but if they are absolutely identical products, it's better to just put 2 ads within the group. Within a single group than it is to against the same keywords than it is to separate it into 2 campaigns and try to fight for that traffic. So yes, if you're in a very unique situation where the same keywords apply to products, but they're in separate, you know, parent ASINs because of the way Amazon needs it structured, then you are best to rotate those 2 parent ASINs within a single ad group on the same keywords, or, you know, within separate ads on the same keywords. And at that point, you should see one will do better than the other. But just make sure that when you do that, if those ASINs have keywords that are unique for each one, right? Make sure that you're putting those in their own ad group and putting those keywords to link it up. So say I had towels on 2 parent ASINs, my towel keywords, my bath towel keywords, I could have those overlapped ads rotating. Super effective. I'm going to have better performance on one than the other, but at least you get traffic to both parent ASINs. You don't have to do this on a child-parent relationship. And they have to be very identical to make it work. And then from there, if I had, say, you know, blue towels, gray towels, white towels, those would be in their own ad groups with their own image. So only the white shows for the white, only blue for blue. You know, I keep it very keyword targeted if they're super unique keywords that only define that product's features.
All right. How do you determine that a keyword has good velocity or not?
Sales, impressions, you know what I mean? How many orders is it? How much revenue is it? How many impressions is it? Velocity just really means that it's just driving results. Velocity means that that keyword is just picking up speed like a snowball, and it just continues to drive more sales, more orders, more impressions, more views, right? It just jams. So that's just all you're looking at for velocity. Is of all your keywords, some are going to be significantly higher than the others.
Okay, what does it mean when it says I have 99% buy box? Does that mean that my competitors are showing up on my listings?
Yeah, that's another seller question. In the ad world, that doesn't impact anything negatively. I think sometimes we'll just see that as like a stat. I see 99% across a lot of stuff, and I don't really understand why that happens. It'd be an Amazon question, but it definitely doesn't impact you negatively. I haven't found that when I see 99% that somebody else is taking the buy box. It's normally just something that's like a glitch. I don't think 99% is defined as 1% has your buy box. I think it's defined that you have the buy box. But that's just my experience with it.
All right. If I go for my browse keyword instead of my shop, as you advised earlier, should I? Oh, we already did this one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. If I go for my browse keyword instead of my shop, as you advised earlier, should I switch it around and bid higher on my browse and my shop? So instead, bid
yes.
higher.
We talked about that.
So we just did this one.
We did.
See, this is what I got. Yeah, when I asked you guys not to resubmit questions.
Oh, poor Melissa. She's like, "Oh my God, I got that one." Sometimes we lose them in the pile though, and they're like, "Hey, did you hear this or you see it? We know where you guys are at," but we get confused too. Like I said, we see two lines.
Yeah, I don't get a flag that says this is a repeat, and some of them are so similar that when I read it, I'm like, well, gosh, is it the same or is it not the same?
Right? Like what's going on? No, I think that we've nailed all the questions, and I'm almost at a hard stop. So if there's anything pressing, I want to grab it for sure. But you guys have been awesome and really good questions. I saw somebody come through there with questions about our graphics, which is so much fun because I just have, there's no like specific, it's just part of our team. We do all our graphics in house. So there's no like, there's no person to tell you about because they all work here. But our graphic team is a really unique team. And I don't know why they're so good at our graphics. Like we seem to find people instinctively that do a very nice job with our stories, and I feel really blessed on that. And I'm always wondering what I should be doing more with my graphics. It's always a kind of a challenge for me to like tell the story versus just do the advertising. But that was thank you for commenting on the graphics. I hope you guys do enjoy the graphics. We focus on the ad training, but we do have a really awesome creative team that does fun stuff for us.
I got one more quick one and then one resource question. Mm-hmm. Quick resource question is, when is the Q&A file going to be ready for class 6?
Yes, it's going to be ready this weekend. It was extra long. These Q&A sessions have been extra juicy. And unfortunately, my assistant has to go through and edit all of this stuff. They have to go through and edit Melissa's questions, and then they have to edit your questions, especially when you guys stack them and we're all like, all of us are trying to figure out where we're at. And then they have to edit and make sure that my answers are tied up and then check the timestamp. So yes, those transcripts are done. They're in the works. They'll be done this weekend. We were just discussing them yesterday. Just some of these longer questions take a lot of editing, and they're taking some extra time.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Okay, last question. We're going to wrap up with this one.
Okay.
Sport says it's a quick one. When bidding for rank in our Browse and Shop ad group, do you review how we make sure we're achieving rank? Is it as simple as searching each keyword and seeing if we show up on the top search, regardless of the match type used? Yes,
just make sure you're ranking on that keyword. You know what I mean? That's really it. Just make sure that you are ranking on that keyword. And it won't matter what variation. And just check the highest selling keywords, right? So I always kind of try to say across all my campaigns and clients, like, okay, if I'm looking at their account and I have a product, I have several products we're advertising, I say on that product, what keywords do we have to rank on? It's that 80-20 principle. Where is 80% of the sales? Which ones have to be ranked on? I'm choosing my priorities. Again, I could split hairs all day. I could rank on every keyword. If there were unlimited time and unlimited money and unlimited everything in this world, world, I would sit and rank keyword by keyword across all 500. But the bottom line is, where is my 80%? Where is that one thing I can tip today that will knock all the dominoes down, right? So if it's that one keyword, you guys have it in your account, you know which one it is. There's probably 5 or 10 keywords that are like huge. Like when you hit that one keyword and you even move up 2 positions, it's worth a ton of velocity, history, and wins organically. So I'm always trying to say, where is that big lever that I can pull today and control that's going to tip all the dominoes in my favor? So that's really important that you kind of look at that 80-20 thing, because it can get overwhelming otherwise, and just focus on those big levers and rank on the keywords that are crucial to your sales. And the beautiful part about that is all the mid tail and long tail will follow it. So, you know, as long as you're winning on those big kind of velocity history keywords, and, you know, the seed keywords that are then driving the variations, you're going to get maximum visibility across all of it. And again, you could probably split hairs and get more visibility across every keyword in your entire portfolio. But then you would need, like, you know, more assistance than there is time in the day, and more money than there is, you know, for the risk to optimizing those, right? So just focus on those top numbers, and you're going to see huge wins.
I think that wraps it up for today.
Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much. Everybody, you guys, this was awesome. Carolina, Smile, just the usual suspects, Rob and Lure VIP, just such good stuff. And I always love to see you guys support. Thank you so much for your feedback on the graphics. You know, this has just been such a great session as always. And everybody enjoy your weekend. And next week, we're going to dive into placement targeted campaigns, which is a really nice strategy. And until next time.